Chapter 1083. What was strange was that no one knew exactly how many casualties the Holy Mountain suffered in this battle because no cultivators of the Holy Mountain wanted to clarify this matter. What was even stranger was that none of the immortal emperors of the Holy Mountain actually chased after Ning Fan even though he had caused such a huge commotion in the Holy Mountain. Instead, they acted out of character and shut the entrance of the tomb tightly. Moreover, they hid the Holy Mountain, which was supposed to appear for 49 years, back into the boundless void space in advance. None of the grassland cultivators who went to the Holy Mountain to watch Sovereign II's execution had returned. Some of them died on the Holy Mountain while some went into hiding together with the mountain. Most of the information about the battle on the Holy Mountain was obtained through deduction techniques. It was difficult to obtain accurate information. Only a few immortal venerables and immortal kings personally went to the top of the 33 heavens where the Holy Mountain was located to investigate the situation there. However, they could not find the Holy Mountain and eventually confirmed that it had hidden back into the endless void. The location where the Holy Mountain used to be was empty except for the chaotic Tao laws of heaven and earth. The devil chi of the ancient devils covered the sky, hinting at what kind of battle had taken place there. After the news spread, the entire Supreme Pill sacred region was shaken. On the grassland, countless cultivators of the tribes were so shocked that they could not control themselves. What exactly happened on the Holy Mountain? That was everyone's question. Some immortal venerables and immortal kings collected the remnants of the battle between heaven and earth and used a recovery technique to recreate part of the battle on the Holy Mountain. Then, they saw Ning Fan commanding the heavenly tribulation and lightning to strike the entire Holy Mountain. They saw Ning Fan rescuing Sovereign II. They saw Ning Fan bringing Sovereign II and immortal concubine Zhang Yu to chase after the last 5 emperors of the Holy Mountain. They saw the 8th tribulation immortal emperors of Lei Yun country and Stone Man Emperor being afraid of Ning Fan like tigers and leopards. They did not hesitate to use the 10,000 recitations and 1 decaying technique of the Holy Mountain Mausoleum to escape. They saw countless immortal cultivators of the Holy Mountain being led back to the Holy Mountain Mausoleum by 10,000 recitations and 1 decaying technique. They also saw the 3 immortal emperors of Lei Yin country being trapped by immortal concubine Zhang Yu's mysterious technique and could not escape. They cursed in despair. In the end, their primordial spirits were captured by Ning Fan and refined into primordial spirit pills. His methods were extremely ruthless. They saw the Holy Mountain fleeing miserably and hiding back into the endless void. They saw Ning Fan tearing apart layers of the hollow space, trying to find where the sacred mountain was hidden. Unfortunately, the hollow space was vast and boundless. In the end, they could not find it and could only leave helplessly. They did not see the scenes of the supremacy of great inferiority, so the heaven and earth illusory technique of the upper realm did not allow it, so they did not know. But even so, they were shocked speechless by the battle on the sacred mountain. Ghost-faced cultivator, it's actually that external cultivator. He destroyed the entire sacred mountain all by himself and forced the sacred mountain to hide in the endless void, not daring to show itself again. Some of the cultivators who were afraid of Ning Fan's monstrous devil might were trembling in fear. Impossible! I don't believe that the Holy Mountain would be defeated by an outside cultivator. That is the Holy Mountain, that is the Holy Mountain. There were cultivators from the grasslands who viewed the Holy Mountain as a source of glory, but when they heard that the 33 heavens were in a complete mess and their holy land had disappeared, they immediately began to cry out. It was as if they had lost their faith and home. Not good. That ghost-faced cultivator had beaten the sacred mountain back into the endless void. If he continued to rampage in the Great Bay Plains, who could stop him? Who can suppress him? There were also people who began to panic. And Great Emperor Lu Tua, we still have Great Emperor Lu Tua. But even Emperor Lu Tua can't stop the ghost-faced cultivator. The ghost-faced cultivator has immortal concubine Zhang Yu who has survived since the ancient times. Besides, she even saved the master of the blood marshal who is incomparably ferocious. Didn't you see that even the emperors of the Holy Mountain are afraid of them? Great Emperor Lu Tua alone can't protect us at all. Rumor has it that the ghost-faced cultivator loves to plunder. If he comes to plunder our tribe, we just need to sacrifice our wealth to save our lives. Sigh, it's not bad if we can save our lives by sacrificing our wealth. However, I'm afraid that we will still be killed by the ghost-faced cultivator in the end. The entire grassland will be filled with blood. The holy mountain is finished. The Great Bay Plains is finished. We're finished. Countless pessimistic comments spread across the grassland. Even the sky could feel the atmosphere. It was no longer a clear sky but dark clouds that shrouded the grassland day in and day out as if a storm was coming. After the battle on the holy mountain, Ning Fan did not plunder the small forces on the grassland. Currently, even the forces of immortal venerables and immortal kings were not worthy of his attention. Only the forces of immortal emperors could move him. Unfortunately, the holy mountain had hidden itself in the boundless void. 4 of the forces of the 5 emperors of the Middle Province had already been plundered by him. Only Lu Tuo remained untouched. As for Lu Tuo, he had already paid the price and repaid his karma. Thus, Ning Fan was too lazy to look for trouble with him. During the battle, Zhang Yu endured the discomfort of his physical body and fought against the Radiance Buddha first. Then, he fought against the experts of the Thundercloud country and the others. The backlash he suffered was extremely great. Immediately after the battle, he returned to the profound Yin world to recuperate in seclusion. During the battle, Black Devil was responsible for joining hands with the Heavenly Tao Soul of the Extreme Pill Sacred Region to release the Heavenly Tribulation in response to Ning Fan. She was not the Heavenly Tao Soul of this world. Even though she could control the Heavenly Tao of a certain area after she matures, the consumption of her energy was tremendous. After the battle, she had no choice but to recuperate in the profound Yin world. During the battle, Ouyangnuan used many of the methods that Zhang Yu taught her. She successfully intercepted the escape of the Thunder Sound Immortal Emperors at the critical moment. The backlash she suffered was not small. After the battle, she also went into seclusion to recuperate. Even Old Wu suffered a backlash because he used his dark luck to attack the Thunder Sound Immortal Emperors at the critical moment of the battle. Ning Fan's attack on the Holy Mountain seemed to be glorious, but he had also paid a huge price. For example, he had used an astonishing number of 9 revolution pills and 60% of the extreme yang water. However, the result of the battle was not as much as he had expected. At first, he thought that he could seize the opportunity when the 5 supreme beings were distracted to wipe out the foundation of the Holy Mountain's 23 emperors and the 12 lineages. However, he did not expect that he would be attacked by the mausoleum guarding illusion technique at the critical moment and the emperors of the Holy Mountain escaped. The mausoleum guarding illusion technique, it was the strongest illusion technique that the Southern Medicine Saint had left behind in the Holy Mountain's mausoleum. It had the killing power of a saint. When the cultivators of Lei Yun country and the others unleashed such an illusory technique, both Ning Fan and Zhang Yu were severely injured by it. Luckily, Sovereign Tu was an immortal Emperor Realm expert who blocked most of the attacks from the illusory technique and protected them. That illusion technique was profound and difficult to understand. It guided all the immortal emperors and cultivators who had fainted on the Holy Mountain back into the mausoleum. It did not give Ning Fan a chance to attack those who had fainted. Unknowingly, it reduced the battle's result. The Stone Puppet Sovereign and the other 7 Tribulation Immortal Emperor also took the opportunity to escape back into the mausoleum. They shut the door tightly, not allowing Ning Fan to enter. Lei Yun and the other 2 Thundersound Sovereigns also planned to escape back to the mausoleum. However, they were trapped by Ouyangnuan's secret technique, which was taught by Zhang Yu. In the end, the Stone Puppet Sovereign brought the survivors of the Holy Mountain and hid in the endless void. The 3 unlucky fellows were left alone on the dome of the 33 heavens. They continued to be chased and beaten by Ning Fan and the others. In the end, they were defeated and captured. They would rather die than become slaves. Ning Fan refined them into a pile of 10,000 spirit blood. Immortal emperors were indeed existences that could not be easily enslaved. What was worth mentioning was that Yin Luo Sha and the other Eastern Heaven cultivators were also guided into the mausoleum and escaped the calamity. Otherwise, Ning Fan would not mind killing the people of the dark race. After killing the 3 Thunder Emperors of Lei Yun country and the others, Ning Fan also tried to tear open the void above the former location of the sacred mountain, trying to find out where the sacred mountain had escaped to. Unfortunately, the void was boundless. He did not even know which layer of the void the holy mountain had escaped to. Of course, he could not find it. In the battle, other than saving Tu Huang, he did not gain much loot. This was not Ning Fan's style. Of course, it was not that he did not have any loot. Ning Fan could not do anything to those who were rescued by the holy mountain. However, the people of Lei Yun and the others who did not escape still contributed 3 storage pouches to Ning Fan. Another 4 innate magical treasures. The 5 lightning destruction shield was the natal treasure of the 3rd ancestor of the Lei clan, Lei Chao. The lightning prison rope was the weapon of the 2nd ancestor of the Lei clan, Lei Jing. The divine lightning mirror was the magic treasure of the Lei Yun country. It was one of the more powerful low-grade innate magical treasures. There was also the immemorial lightning cauldron. It was the item that ranked first among the 9 cauldrons of the Southern Medicine Saint. It was a precious treasure of the Thunder Sound lineage that Lei Yun country wanted to take away from the execution ground before he escaped. It was a mid-grade innate magical treasure. Since Lei Yun country failed to escape, this treasure naturally fell into Ning Fan's pocket. Even though he was far from attaining the 1st-grade immortal emperor realm, the innate magical treasures that he possessed were not something that ordinary immortal emperors could compare with. The profound Yin world came with 2 innate magical treasures, the steel of sun and moon and the steel of stars. They were treasures that Ning Fan's cultivation base was not strong enough to use in the past. If these 2 steels were separated, they would be low-grade innate magical treasures. However, if they were combined, their power would definitely reach mid-grade innate magical treasures or even higher. Ning Fan's cultivation base seemed to have increased enough to use the steel of sun, moon, and stars. However, there were some techniques that he had yet to learn which prevented him from using them for the time being. When he has the time, he would study how to use these 2 steels. Other than that, he still had the Spirit-Gathering Gate, 5 Elements Vase, Treasure-Searching Compass, Dark Immortal Cloud, Divine Refining Cauldron, 5 Venom Banner, Immortal Washing Bucket, Wind and Fire Fan, Emperor Jia Luo's Devil Subduing Pearl, Black Mountain Bear Ancestral Kasaya, 5 Lightning Destruction Shield, Lightning Prison Rope and Divine Lightning Mirror. The Flame Moon Ancient Realm, the Eastern Sea Chimes, the Raging Thunder Incense Burner. All of them were innate items that were similar to sacrificial tools. Ning Fan gave them to Black Devil, the Quasi-Emperor Puppet and Kei-Gu, the Water Drowning World Bottle and the Immemorial Lightning Cauldron. These 2 treasures were mid-grade innate magical treasures. They had the power to destroy heaven and earth. In terms of the number of magic treasures, Ning Fan would not be inferior to a quasi-saint. Moreover, he also had the God-exterminating shield of the ancient country, which was a heaven-opening magical treasure. Ning Fan flew forward on a dark cloud with his hands clasped behind his back. He seemed to be in a daze. Tu Huang was sitting cross-legged on the dark immortal cloud while consuming pills to heal his injuries. Then, he sighed and said to Ning Fan, who was flying on the cloud, "You shouldn't have leaked the chi of the heaven-opening magical treasure to those quasi-saints. You don't know how tempting an item of this level is to those living legends. Maybe you don't have the real heaven-opening magical treasure. Maybe you just got a trace of the heaven-opening magical treasure from somewhere. However, those quasi-saints won't care whether you really have it or not. If they enter the spatial turbulence and only find an empty box in the end, they will probably turn around and plot against you again to obtain the heaven-opening magical treasure that you might have." She had already learned the whole story from Ning Fan. She was very worried about Ning Fan's future. She did not listen to Ning Fan and enter the profound Yin world to heal her injuries. She wanted to stay by Ning Fan's side and heal his injuries. She wanted to look at his back when he was riding on a cloud. Ning Fan didn't explain and just shook his head with a smile. He didn't care what kind of trouble it would attract if he leaked the aura of splitting open the heavens. If he hadn't leaked the aura of opening the heavens, How could those shrewd old things have finally decided to give up on plotting against Emperor Slayer and run to the space turbulence? If it wasn't for the aura of creation, how could the Radiant Buddha not care about the survival of the Saint Mountain and directly abandon it to search for treasures? Perhaps this matter would bring trouble to Ning Fan, but how many troubles did he have? After this incident, he would truly become the public enemy of the entire world in the extreme Dan sacred region. When those quasi-sages returned from the spatial turbulence, they would never let him go. Even if he returned to the eastern sky, he would still be pressured by the mountain of the dark race. He would still be the inheritor of the ancient chaos that everyone in the eastern sky schemed against, and he would still be the enemy of the whole world. He had so many enemies that he could not defeat and so many mountains that he needed to surpass. His path of cultivation was full of dangers and challenges from the very beginning. If he was afraid, then there was no need to cultivate this Tao. If the enemy schemed against him, he would retaliate 10 times or 100 times. If the enemy was cunning, he would be 10 times or 100 times more cunning than the enemy. If the enemy was ruthless, he would be 10 times or 100 times more ruthless than the enemy. If the enemy was tough, he would be 10 times or 100 times more ruthless than the enemy. His Tao had always been firm and unyielding. He would rather break than yield. Only in this way could he make others fear him instead of him being afraid of others. Fortunately, if you leave the extreme Dan sacred region, their hands won't be able to reach you anymore. Even if they want to scheme against you, it's beyond their reach. Have you heard that the opening of the extreme Dan sacred region this time is the last time? It seems to be because the giant corpse of the realm beast, which is the entrance passage to the extreme Dan sacred region, is about to be destroyed. Ning Fan answered, "The passage of the realm beast is just one of the reasons. The most important reason is actually that the will of the saints in this world is growing like a living creature. It is growing day by day and has already surpassed the suppression of the supremacy of Great Humble. Do you know how the ancestor of Great Humble, Medicine Saint Nan, fell? I'd like to hear the details." After Medicine Saint Nan was severely injured by Madame Whitebones, who was ranked first in the supremacy of Great Humble, he was sneakily attacked by the good and evil corpses and died when he was healing his injuries. Oh. Ning Fan answered indifferently. In fact, he was not concerned about how Medicine Saint Nan died. However, if Sovereign Tu was willing to tell him a story, he was willing to listen to it as entertainment. Medicine Saint Nan died because of the betrayal of the Medicine Buddha and the Flame Ancestor. He died with resentment. Thus, his will turned into the sacred mountain. When he was still alive, he had also set up a trap. After his death, the entire extreme Dan sacred region was enveloped by the will of the saints and turned into a cage. It was the punishment for the betrayal of the good and evil corpses. Those who are imprisoned are the native cultivators of my Great Humble clan. If the native cultivators want to go against the will of the saints and walk out of the extreme Dan sacred region, they must pay a huge price. Moreover, if they live in the outside world, their cultivation base will gradually fall because of the curse of the saint's will. In the history of my clan, there are very few native cultivators who go to the outside world. Even if they have something to do, they will not stay for too long. If they stay for too long, their cultivation base will be exhausted and they will die. Speaking of which, before the Radiant Buddha took control of the sacred mountain, there were some pill devils and corpse devils who retained their self-awareness and escaped to the outside world. However, after the Radiant Buddha gave a strict order on this matter, no non-cultivators left the sacred mountain. Actually, this is only because the passage of the realm beast has yet to collapse. That's why the native cultivators have the possibility to stay in the outside world for a short period of time. If the passage of the realm beast is destroyed, they won't be able to stay in the outside world for a short period of time. Another purpose of the existence of the passage is to weaken the influence of the saint's will of the southern medicine saint and slow down the decline of the cultivation base of the native cultivators who go to the outside world. After the passage of the realm beast is destroyed, not to mention that the extreme Dan sacred region and the outside world will become a dead end, even if those supreme beings of the Great Humble clan go to the outside world to look for you through an unknown passage, they will also have to pay a painful price of having their cultivation base reduced and their primordial spirits severely damaged because of the curse of the saint's will. There is even a slight possibility that they will be directly killed by the saint's will, which is no longer weakened. Therefore, after you leave, the quasi-saints of my clan won't dare to go to the outside world to look for you. However, that cloaked quasi-saint called by Zhu might not necessarily be the same. He can move freely in the outside world. If he sets his eyes on you, you must remember to be careful. Oh. Are you listening? Tu Huang frowned. Did you do it on purpose? Ning Fan smiled. Tu Huang laughed out of anger. She was worried about him, but he actually still had the mood to joke with her. This brat really thinks that robbing the execution ground of the sacred mountain is fun. Does he really think that those quasi-saints of the great humble clan won't take revenge? Aren't you worried about your future situation at all? I'm more worried about your situation. Ning Fan stopped smiling and sighed softly. His purpose of coming to the extreme Dan sacred region had been achieved. He had also rescued Tu Huang. If he wants to, he could leave the extreme Dan sacred region through the spatial node right now. However, Ning Fan was very worried about what would happen to Tu Huang after he leaves. Would those quasi-saints find an excuse to capture Tu Huang and bring him to the sacred mountain to be executed? According to Tu Huang, if the native cultivators go to the outside world, they will be cursed by the saint's will. Can't Tu Huang follow me to the outside world? Even if I escape from this place, I will still die. Why do I have to go with you? I still want to stay here and avenge my subordinates who died. Those bald donkeys of the sacred mountain captured me and even killed my subordinates. I won't let this matter go just like this. You can leave by yourself. I want to stay here and fight those bald donkeys of the sacred mountain. Tu Huang's lips curled into a vicious smile. She was the same as Ning Fan. Both of them were fearless. Actually, the souls of your subordinates are still there. I am the Fu Li tribe. I have kept their souls with my spiritual wheels. If I have enough power one day, I will give them a chance to be reborn. You don't have to be too sad about this. If that's the case, I have finally resolved a knot in my heart. However, even so, I will still take revenge on those bald donkeys of the sacred mountain. You can't stop me. Can't stop me. Or, you said that on purpose just to make me feel more at ease when I leave? You don't want me to worry about you? Ning Fan's back remained silent. Tu Huang also remained silent. There really did not seem to be any romantic feelings between the two of them. However, there was an indescribable bond between them that made Ning Fan worry about Tu Huang's future. It also made Tu Huang worry about Ning Fan's future. They were like master and servant. The kinship between them was different from romantic love. By the way, those quasi-saints who schemed against you seem to be after the sword ancestor's utmost emotion in your body. Do you know what it is? God knows what it is. Tu Huang rolled his eyes at Ning Fan with his only intact right eye. She was infuriated whenever this topic was mentioned. Given her intelligence, the moment the quasi-saints gathered on the sacred mountain, she knew that she had probably been schemed against by those quasi-saints a long time ago. How could she be in a good mood? The so-called execution was actually just a coincidence. Even without Ning Fan, those quasi-saints would still find a chance to frame her with a crime and execute her. She thought that she had been unstoppable for her entire life. However, it turned out that she was just a dog in the eyes of others. Say, if I managed to get rid of the sword ancestor's utmost emotion in your body, would those quasi-saints stop scheming against you? After all, if there are no benefits to be gained from it, those quasi-saints wouldn't be bothered to get involved in karma. Ning Fan suddenly thought of something and his eyes lit up. Good idea. Then, here comes the question. What is the sword ancestor's utmost emotion? How are we going to get rid of it? Tu Huang asked indifferently, as if he was not concerned about getting rid of the sword ancestor's utmost emotion. The method that the Radiance Buddha used to scheme against the sword ancestor's utmost emotion in her body seemed to be to directly strip away her cultivation base. Moreover, it was not an ordinary stripping but a stripping with lightning. Moreover, it required her to feel emotional when stripping away her cultivation base. Otherwise, the dignified Radiance Buddha wouldn't have purposely set up a trap to lure her subordinates to their deaths. He just wanted to make her emotional state fluctuate. If you have to get rid of your cultivation base to avoid the schemes of those quasi-saints, would you be willing to do it? Ning Fan asked with a frown. I'm not willing. A life without cultivation base is no different from a salted fish. On the other hand, I'm more willing to fight those quasi-saints to the death with my cultivation base. Tu Huang shook his head decisively. Say, is there any other way to strip away the sword ancestor's utmost emotion? Ning Fan's eyes were deep. He recalled the sword ancestor's utmost emotion that he encountered in the Corpse Mountain. He finally understood why he had such a special feeling towards Tu Huang. It was because Tu Huang possessed the sword ancestor's utmost emotion. Even though Tu Huang was an illusion puppet, he was an existence that was no different from the sword ancestor's illusion clone. To him, he was special. At this moment, what he was talking about was the sword ancestor's feelings. What made him feel peaceful now was also the sword ancestor's feelings. The countless threads of karma were actually just the bond between him and the sword ancestor. That was all. The sword ancestor was already dead. However, because Tu Huang possessed the sword ancestor's feelings, his existence was equivalent to another life of the sword ancestor. When he was still a butterfly with low spiritual intelligence, she was the sword ancestor whose name shook the entire true world. When he was reincarnated into a human and rose to power in the illusory world step by step, she was only left with a skeleton and an illusion puppet formed by her sword ancestor's feelings. In a daze, Ning Fan recalled what the sword ancestor's skeleton said to him before it turned into ashes. You can't find me and I can't meet you. If two lines intersect, we will meet in one lifetime and be separated for the rest of our lives. If two lines are parallel, we will walk together forever and never meet again. At that time, he did not understand what it meant. But now, he somewhat understood it. He and the sword ancestor were two parallel lines. They walked together from the beginning to the end. However, they could not truly meet each other in the end. He died and she lived. He lived and she died. From the beginning to the end, little butterfly, why are you sighing? I don't know why, but I'm calling you little butterfly again. Tu Huang felt awkward and began to talk nonsense again. Just call me that. It sounds pretty nice. It's fine. I still like to call you Ning Fan. It's a nice name. Then call me Ning Fan. Don't call me little fellow or little thing. Then don't call me senior or lady. Didn't I tell you to just call me by my name? My name is Ji Qingling. Remember it. Ji Qingling. This name sounds very nice. However, is this name real? What did you say? Tu Huang was stunned. I'm returning you the left eye that I owed you. The past that you want is all inside it. Your existence seems to be just an illusion puppet, an existence similar to the 100 Blossom Emperors. At first, I was hesitating whether I should let you know about these things or not. However, perhaps you have already noticed it. Ning Fan sighed and returned Tu Huang's left eye to him. At this point, he had completely repaid his promise to Tu Huang. Tu Huang took off the eye patch and used a secret technique to put his left eye back. He closed his eyes and silently watched the past that Ning Fan had engraved in her left eye. She saw the scenes where the 10 supreme wasps created her. She did not see the little fellow that she was looking for. Sure enough, I'm just an illusion puppet. As for the little fellow that I'm looking for, I won't be able to see him clearly just by looking at the past. The bottom of the yellow spring doesn't have the answer that I'm looking for. After a long time, Tu Huang heaved a sigh of relief and smiled indifferently. She had already guessed that Ning Fan was an illusion puppet. Thus, it was not something that she could not accept. Even though it was a pity that she did not see the person that she was waiting for in the past. Perhaps, Ning Fan was the little fellow that she was waiting for. There was no need for her to look for him anymore. She had this feeling. What would the future hold? Before the quasi-saints who were trapped in the spatial turbulence return, there probably would not be any changes. However, when those people return, her situation would probably be very bad. However, no matter how bad it would not be worse than the strange changes that were happening to her body at this very moment. Thank you, little butterfly. I'm not thanking you for saving me. Instead, I'm thanking you for reuniting with me with this identity and appearance. Tu Huang thought to herself. She did not understand what she was saying in her heart, but she felt very happy. She was happier than when she first formed her gold core and when she first formed her primordial spirit. Just like that, she sat behind Ning Fan and watched the clouds fly past under her feet. She watched his white robes and black hair fluttering in the wind. She watched his back as silent as a mountain. That was enough. Even if she dies at this moment, she would have no regrets. Behind Ning Fan's back, Tu Huang secretly covered his chest with his hands. He endured the pain that felt like his heart was being torn apart. He swallowed the sweet blood in his throat again and again, forcefully suppressing the chi of death that was gradually forming in his body. She was about to die. Actually, it was not accurate to describe her as dead because she was not a living person who truly existed. Her existence should have died in her mother's womb countless years ago. She was also not that baby girl. She was just an illusion puppet, a substitute for that baby girl. Initially, she thought that she would be safe after Ning Fan rescued her. However, that was not the case. At the moment she left the execution ground, her body suddenly began to wither without any warning. If she was a living person and a real immortal emperor, her immortal lifespan should be endless. There would not be such a sudden and strange change. However, she was not. She was just an illusion puppet. Her cultivation base was fake. Her immortality was fake. The Supreme Be who created her had arranged for her to live as long as her lifespan. There was no way to change it. When she left the execution ground, she suddenly realized that the lifespan of the illusion puppet in her body was already running out. It was just like when the Supreme Be created her countless years ago. She had already calculated everything and accurately calculated all the timings. 10 wasps had calculated the exact time of her execution and the exact time when Ning Fan would rescue her from the execution ground. Moreover, she was given enough lifespan to last until Ning Fan rescued her. Now that she was rescued by Ning Fan, her lifespan of the illusion puppet had reached its end. She was the illusion puppet of the 10 bees. No one could interfere with this illusion puppet. No one could prolong her life, except for the 10 bees herself, the culprit who released the illusion puppet. The lifespan that the 10 bees gave her was extremely accurate. This was the end of her lifespan. She had calculated everything. She even calculated that Ning Fan would have a way to send a quasi-saint away to save her countless years before she was created. She understood now. The 10 bees were different from other quasi-saints. Ning Fan's series of overt schemes might have helped him get rid of the schemes of Radiance Buddha and the others. However, he was still in the trap of the 10 bees. That's right. That's right. The goals of the Supreme Be and Radiance Buddha and the others were different from each other. She was created by the 10 bees. She must have been placed the Sword Ancestor's utmost emotion in her body at that time. The 10 bees had already possessed the Sword Ancestor's utmost emotion. There was no need for her to make an unnecessary move by peeling it off and plotting against her again. What she was sure of was that the reason why she came to the sacred mountain this time was different from the others. It was not the Sword Ancestor's utmost emotion. To the 10 bees, the Sword Ancestor's utmost emotion might just be a bait. A bait to catch Ning Fan. The one that the 10 bees are plotting against is Ning Fan. Tu Huang was shocked by his own speculation. However, he did not show any of it on his face. He did not want Ning Fan to know about this. If what he guessed is true, Ning Fan was still not safe at this moment. What does the 10 bees want to do? Why did they only give her the right amount of lifespan for the illusion puppet? Did they want Ning Fan to discover that she was on the verge of death? Did they want Ning Fan to bring her to them and beg them to extend her life? Did they want to use this matter to coerce Ning Fan to achieve their goal? With Ning Fan's personality, he is willing to come and save me even after knowing that I am an illusion puppet. Most likely, he is also willing to find the 10 bees in order to extend my life. From then on, he will fall into their trap step by step. This is an overt scheme of the 10 bees. They want to strangle Ning Fan's personality and force him to submit to them. I can die. After all, it is just an illusion technique. However, I can't let Ning Fan fall into their trap anymore. I can't drag my little butterfly down with me. Tu Huang was the Palm Illusion Great Emperor. If she wanted to use an illusion technique to conceal the fact that she was on the verge of death, even Ning Fan would not be able to see through it. Moreover, Tu Huang's injuries were already extremely severe. Occasionally, a trace of death qi would leak out from him, but Ning Fan would only think that it was because his injuries had worsened. He would not think of anything else. Ning Fan had won the battle on the Holy Mountain. He had defeated the Light Buddha, the Dead Emperor, Niugui and Baizu. Ning Fan had lost the battle on the Holy Mountain. It seemed like he had sent the 10 bees away. However, it turned out that it was all within the 10 bees' precise calculations. It was a plan that she had started countless years ago. Her scheme must be extremely huge. Tu Huang forced himself to smile and chat with Ning Fan. He pretended that nothing had happened and talked nonsense with Ning Fan. He used an illusion technique to draw out the redness on her face to cover her paleness. She did not know how long she had left. She did not know how long she could accompany her little butterfly. She seemed to have understood something, but at the same time, she still did not understand it. She seemed to have regained her life and become the sword ancestor again. At the same time, it also felt like she was still an illusion. What's wrong with you? Why do you keep talking nonstop? What are you trying to hide? When people want to hide something, they will always act abnormally. Your actions don't match your personality. Ning Fan said with a frown. He could not see anything even with the mind-reading technique. He could not get any information from Tu Huang even if he used the myriad things communication technique. He had a feeling that Tu Huang was hiding something from him. However, he did not have a good relationship with Tu Huang after all. Thus, he did not seem to have the right to ask about what Tu Huang was hiding. Abnormally, huh? Then I better keep my mouth shut. Where are we going now? Tu Huang did not deny it. He disdained to lie, but he did not reveal everything either. His long eyes carried a smile and an indescribable gentleness as he looked at Ning Fan. We're going to look for someone. I'm planning to act presumptuously in this Great Bay clan while the few quasi-saints were lured into the spatial turbulence by me. Who are you looking for? Chu Lai, the Saintess Duo Lan. You want to take away the entire Heavenly Dao gold and silver mine of Great Bay clan? If I do that, Radiant Buddha and the others will go crazy when they return. If I don't do that, will they let me go? Ning Fan said with a smile. You're right. Cultivation is something that goes against the heavens. If you want to tolerate everything, why don't you just become immortal? It's exactly because people are unwilling to admit and give in that they force themselves to move forward. Since you want to act presumptuously, I will accompany you. Do you really not need to enter my profound Yin world for seclusion to heal your injuries? Ning Fan asked with a frown. Tu Huang, who was covered in injuries and his qi was extremely weak. He actually wanted to continue acting presumptuously. It would be a lie if he said he was not worried. I can still heal my injuries by staying behind you. Other than Lu Tua, there are no other immortal emperors on the grassland. With your capabilities, even if you fight an immortal king to the death, you won't let me stay behind you and heal my injuries, right? You're right. Ning Fan no longer objected and allowed Tu Huang to stay on the Dark Immortal Cloud and travel with him. The Dark Immortal Cloud flew across the grassland of the Middle State. Every time it passed by a city of the Middle State, it would make the cultivators there shiver in fear. It was because those people knew that it was a ghost-faced cultivator who was passing by. If they were not careful, they might face the danger of being massacred in the city. Only when Ning Fan's Dark Immortal Cloud flew far away would these people heave a sigh of relief. Dark clouds covered Lioli City. It seemed like it was going to rain, but it could not fall. At some point in time, some of the residents of Lioli City suddenly discovered that there was an additional dark cloud with monstrous devil qi in the sky that was filled with dark clouds. Countless people even saw the appearance of the man who was standing on top of the dark cloud with his hands clasped behind his back with their spirit sense. All of a sudden, the entire Lioli City fell into chaos because of Ning Fan's domineering arrival. Ghost-faced cultivator. He's here. We are going to die. We are going to die. Ning Fan felt a slight headache. He had slaughtered many cities and destroyed sections. However, all the cultivators he killed were cultivators with deep karma. He had never killed ordinary mortals like the residents of Lioli City who lived ordinary lives. Of course, these residents of Lioli City possessed medicine souls and some magic power from the moment they attacked. Thus, they could not be considered as mortals. However, from Ning Fan's point of view, the so-called mortals did not refer to their magic power but whether they participated in the battles between cultivators. Obviously, these people lived the lives of mortals who worked at sunrise and slept at sunset. They had nothing to do with the battles between cultivators. Towards such mortals, he also did not want to destroy their peaceful lives. Everyone, please be quiet. I'm not here to massacre the city. Ning Fan's comforting voice clearly entered the ears of every resident of Lioli City. However, it did not seem to be able to suppress the chaos at all. It was because these residents did not believe him. In their eyes, the sacred mountain was sacred, it was their belief and it was their glory. Ning Fan who destroyed the sacred mountain was a heretic, a devil and a homicidal maniac. With the limited intelligence of the residents of Lioli City, they were almost certain that Ning Fan came to Lioli City to kill people and eat their flesh with wine. Is he a devil? He's just that terrifying. After realizing that he could not suppress the chaos, Ning Fan became slightly speechless. Some of the streets had already been trampled by the residents due to the chaos. Even though there were no deaths yet, there were indeed a lot of people who were injured. If this continues, he would kill a lot of mortals who had no karma with him for no reason. Looking at Ning Fan who actually frowned over such a trivial matter, Tu Huang smiled. My little butterfly is really interesting. Very interesting. It's impossible to find a second cultivator like him in this world. You won't be able to control the chaos if you say that. You should say that. Tu Huang cleared his throat and imitated Ning Fan's voice like a ventriloquist. Then, he pretended to speak fiercely to the entire Lioli City. Under my order, all residents of Lioli City are to return to their homes immediately. You are not allowed to run on the streets, cause any chaos or make any noise. Those who disobey my order will be dismembered by 1,000 cuts and sliced into pieces for cooking. Women will be humiliated 100 times and neither young nor old will be tolerated. Hiss! All the residents of Lioli City sucked in a cold breath. They were frightened by Ning Fan's threatening voice. No one dared to run on the streets anymore. All of them only dared to slow down and slowly head back to their homes. Also, no one dared to cause any chaos or speak loudly. All of them kept quiet out of fear of being punished by Great Devil Ning. Didn't you hear what Ning Fan said? Are those words that a human can say? Those are words that only a devil can say. If a man disobeys his order, he will be dismembered and cooked. If a woman disobeys his order, she will be ravaged by Great Devil Ning 100 times and neither young nor old will be tolerated. This Great Devil Ning is too scary. He even dares to lay his hands on a 3-year-old little girl and an 80-year-old old woman. He is indeed a devil. The entire Lioli City instantly fell into silence because of Tu Huang's nonsense. The residents of the city were not the only ones who fell into silence. Even some existences with extremely high cultivation bases fell into silence. My reputation has been ruined by you. Ning Fan was speechless. Are you the kind of person who cares about your reputation? As long as you achieve your goal, so what if you have to resort to unscrupulous means? As long as your Dao heart is clear, it's fine. Tu Huang smiled sweetly. You have a point. Ning Fan shook his head. He did not want to argue with Tu Huang. Instead, he kept his black immortal cloud and held Tu Huang's waist. Then, his figure flashed and disappeared without a trace. Under his deliberate concealment, the true immortal realm cultivators who were currently stationed in Lioli City would not be able to detect where Ning Fan had gone to at all. Ning Fan quietly landed in a place called Prison Number 47 in Lioli City. This was the place where he and Duo Lan stayed when they first came to Lioli City. As soon as the few maids who were close to Ning Fan saw him, they were actually not afraid of his devil name. Instead, they cried tears of joy. "Lord Devil King, please save our young mistress. She has been locked up by the spirit sect's sacred son and he still refuses to let her go until now." They are obviously not afraid, but why do they keep calling Ning Fan Devil King? What kind of weird title is that? Ning Fan did not continue to discuss the title with the few maids. Instead, he frowned and asked, "Has Duo Lan been captured by the spirit sect's sacred son?" Not captured. Young mistress was forced to leave with the spirit sect's sacred son willingly. Forced. Ning Fan was surprised. When he had participated in the second round of the mausoleum contest, he had been curious as to why Duo Lan had not come to watch his match. Now that he thought about it, could it be that she had already been taken away by the spirit sect? Do you know why the spirit sect took Doran away? The faces of the maids immediately turned red, and then they said somewhat uneasily. "We don't know the details, but it seems that the spirit sect used the Demon King to threaten the young miss, which was why the young miss willingly allowed herself to be taken away. It was said that the holy son of the spirit sect had reached a critical juncture in his cultivation and needed a holy maiden who still had her vital energy to help him break through his bottleneck. In the past, the holy son of the spirit sect had looked down on our young lady, but this time, it seems like there has been a change. He is very attentive to our young lady and has been providing for her with good food and drinks. When the time comes, he will officially use our young lady for cultivation. For me." Ning Fan was surprised. He did not expect that the reason why Duo Lan was taken away was related to him. Tu Huang, who was at the side, smiled mischievously. Her family's little butterflies seemed to be very popular with women. It seemed that she did not need to worry about this little fellow's marriage before she died. Good, very good. With these women by his side, it was just like how her smile would stay by his side. Each of them had a unique smile that bloomed because of him. Chapter 1084. Lioli City was the largest city in the Middle State. It was famous for its numerous temples. In fact, Lioli City did not only have many temples but also many brothels and brothels. In the city, there was an extremely prosperous red light street that ran through the central area of Lioli City and crossed 2 artificial rivers along the way. There were no less than 1,000 brothels, music houses, wine shops, and shops on the 2 long streets. There were many people who came to the red light street to seek pleasure. There were both men and women. Some of them had the desire to have a physical body while some of them just came here to entertain and enjoy the music. If it was in the past, the red light street would definitely be filled with endless customers. Outside the shops on both sides of the street, there would definitely be women soliciting customers everywhere. However, it was different today. Because of Ning Fan's arrival, the entire red light street was empty. Not a single person could be seen. Not a single woman was soliciting customers on the street. Not a single sound of music could be heard from the brothels. Not a single idle person came here to seek pleasure. Each of the brothels was tightly shut. Each of the music houses was locked. The taverns were closed and the shops were closed. The entire red light street was deserted. Accompanied by the gloomy weather, the atmosphere was indescribably bleak. Even the largest music house in Lioli City, Xiaofang, did not have any customers today. It was completely deserted. The Xiaofang was not purely a brothel. Its main source of profit came from the sale of spiritual wine at a sky-high price and the singing and dancing of the dancers. In the past, most of the customers who came here just came to drink and have fun. However, if one could pay a sufficient price, one could also invite some unknown singers for a night of sex. Of course, those famous singers usually wouldn't entertain guests. As for the leading figure of the Xiaofang, Feng, she did not even need to drink with the guests. Even if she covered her face all day long, no one would blame her. Moreover, as the leading figure, she had great freedom. If she wanted to lead a dance, she could do so. If she wanted to rest, she could also be missing for 10 to 15 days. The so-called leading figure of the Xiaofang, Feng, was actually the Supreme 10 Bees. However, basically no one knew about this except for a few people in the Supreme Pill sacred region. Xiaofang was a place where normal people didn't dare to act rashly. This had nothing to do with the 10B's supremacy status, but rather because the spirit school of the 12 sacred mountain lineages stood behind Xiaofang. Very few people dared to provoke such a force. The spirit sect's status in the sacred mountain was very similar to the He clan's status in Triflames. They weren't the strongest immortal emperor force, but because of their superior alchemy skills, they were ranked at the top. The sacred mountain sects all had secular businesses in the grasslands. One of the businesses owned by the spirit sect was the Elegance Workshop. The owner of Lioli City's Xiaofang was the holy son of the spiritual sect. The chosen of the spirit sect had a bone age of 8 million years, but he had cultivated a 9th transformation golden medicine soul. Be it his background or talent, he could be ranked among the sacred mountain's geniuses. Some immortal emperors even believed that he could break through to the emperor-grade medicine soul within 30 million years and become a 9-revolution emperor-grade pill refinement master. In the past, when immortal emperors met this person, they would be more or less courteous and call him little friend, which was enough to show how much they valued him. His territory was naturally not a place where the residents of Lioli City dared to act recklessly. Every time the Sacred Mountain's mausoleum opened, the mausoleum guardian of the Sacred Mountain could end his 1,000-year closed-door cultivation and walk out. At this time, the chosen of the spirit sect would walk out of the mausoleum and come to Lioli City's Elegance Workshop to collect all kinds of rare medicine souls as human cauldrons. To him, the existence of the Elegance Workshop was not for profit, but for private enjoyment. The chosen of the spirit sect did not participate in this year's mausoleum seizing battle. He was at an important juncture in the cultivation of his medicine soul. If he succeeded, his path to the emperor-grade medicine soul would be smooth. All he needed was time to accumulate, so he placed great importance on it. In the deepest part of the Elegance Workshop was a forbidden courtyard bathed in golden Buddhist light. It was isolated from the outside world and could not hear any sounds from the outside world. Cultivating inside would not be disturbed by anything from the outside world. Long before the start of the second round of the mausoleum seizing battle, the chosen of the spirit sect had come to the Elegance Workshop and shut himself in the forbidden courtyard. He was busy collecting women every day. Due to the existence of a huge restriction, if the chosen of the spirit sect did not walk out of the forbidden area on his own initiative, no one could enter or disturb his cultivation. Inside the forbidden area, there were hundreds and thousands of prison cells made of gold. Some were occupied by women, while others were empty. Some of the women living here were still virgins, some had already been plucked by the chosen of the spirit sect, and there were also some who had already been played with and had become stupid. Some of these women were slaves that he had raised since childhood, some were human cauldrons that he had bought from other experts of the spirit sect with a large sum of money, and some were women that he had directly taken from them. He was even more unscrupulous towards these women. Furthermore, there were some cultivators of the spirit sect who had offered their wives and daughters to him in order to curry favor with the spirit sect. He had long since become accustomed to this, and would even invite those who had offered their daughters to enjoy the offered women together with him. The 973 cell was occupied by Duo Lan. The interior of the cell was mainly decorated with gold. The tables and chairs were all made of gold. This was the so-called keeping a mistress in a golden house. Duo Lan was wearing a wedding dress that was embroidered with the color of a night red lion. Her eyes were blank and she was half leaning on the bed. She had been imprisoned for several months like a canary waiting for death. There was a restriction on the cell. She could not walk out of it and others could not enter. Only the chosen of the spirit sect could come and go as he pleased. Occasionally, the loud laughter of the chosen of the spirit sect, the cries of women and the panting of their breaths could be heard from the cell in the distance. She knew that the chosen of the spirit sect was cultivating in this place, enjoying the plucking and refining of human cauldrons one after another. At this moment, she was still a virgin. However, she did not know how long she could remain a virgin. Her expression was blank. No one knew why she was in a daze. Occasionally, she would mutter the word, "senior," to herself. The senior that she was referring to was Ning Fan. She was locked up in this place by the chosen of the spirit sect on the eve of the second round of Ning Fan's mausoleum seizing competition. She had no idea about what had happened in the outside world after that. Her understanding of Ning Fan was still at the beginning of the second round of Ning Fan's mausoleum seizing competition. At that time, she really wanted to go to the scene and cheer for Ning Fan. However, she could not do so. Later on, she wanted to represent Chu Lai's lineage to participate in the third round of Ning Fan's mausoleum seizing competition. However, she no longer had the chance to do so. She was not kidnapped. Half of it was because she willingly walked into the cell of the chosen of the spirit sect. The other half of it was because she was coerced. Once she was locked up, she would never be able to walk out of this place. This was the decision that she had made herself. On the first day when Duo Lan followed Ning Fan to Lioli City, she heard that her clansmen were in trouble. That trouble originated from the chosen of the spirit sect. She did not tell Ning Fan in detail what the trouble was. Moreover, she did not want to involve Ning Fan in this matter because she knew that as an external cultivator, Ning Fan's identity was very sensitive. The spirit sect was involved in this matter. If Ning Fan gets involved, he might be killed if he is not careful. As a matter of fact, the trouble of her clansmen was indeed not a big problem. With her capabilities, she could barely settle it without considering the consequences. After the matter was settled, she wanted to directly go to the square of the Great Brightness Temple to see if she could rush there to cheer for Ning Fan, who was participating in the mausoleum seizing competition. Unfortunately, she could not leave. The chosen of the spirit sect used a condition to imprison her. I heard from my subordinates that you are very close to an external cultivator with the surname Ning? I heard that this external cultivator is quite capable. Not long ago, he caused quite a ruckus in the 100 Flowers Peak. Even the experts of our sacred mountain have heard about it. However, that's all. An external cultivator is just an external cultivator. No matter how strong he is still a lowly existence. You are the dignified Chu Lai Saintess. To think that you actually degenerated to the point of fooling around with an external cultivator. You are really abandoning yourself. You asked me where I heard about it? There's no harm in telling you about it. The person who gave me the information is Spiritual Master Bai Lu of the 100 Flowers Peak. On the surface, he is a subordinate of the 100 Flowers Peak. However, he has already pledged his allegiance to me in secret. He is in charge of searching for human cauldrons with special medicine souls on the prairie for me. For the sake of benefits, he even offered all of his female disciples for me to pluck at will. His loyalty is absolutely reliable. I believe him when he said that you two are fooling around together. After all, you are just like your mother. Both of you are trash who have been toyed with by others. I plan to kill that Ning Fan. Do you think he should be killed? You are asking me why I want to kill him? You are my former fiancé. I can abandon you and break my engagement with Chu Lai. However, I will not allow someone I don't want to fool around with an external cultivator. He will bring shame to the reputation of my spirit sect. I don't like trash that I don't want to be touched by others either. Moreover, that external cultivator seems to have a concubine with a medicine soul of 5 colors. You know what I love to do the most is to kill my husband and take his wife by force. That kind of pleasure is simply indescribable. Moreover, a medicine soul with 5 colors is an extremely rare one. To me, it will be of great use. You want to beg me to let me go? What right do you have to beg me? How ridiculous. You are just a trash whose tattoo of a saintess was destroyed. If you still have any value to me, how could I have given up on my engagement with you and married another saintess? Of course, to me, the so-called marriage is just a nice way of saying it. The saintess that I marry is just a human cauldron that receives a slightly better treatment. That's all. I will still squeeze her dry in the end. What? You actually still have the yin qi of the saintess in your body? That's impossible. Your tattoo of a saintess has obviously already. Could it be the work of your father? It's the previous Chu Lai. As long as you are willing to marry me again and become my 19th Tao companion, I promise not to kill that external cultivator. After all, compared to a human cauldron with a medicine soul of 5 colors, your huge amount of yin qi is definitely more valuable. You actually have such a huge amount of yin qi. Good. Very good. No, I can't pluck you immediately. I have to make some preparations first before I absorb your yin qi. Before I make sufficient preparations, you will stay here and wait for my arrival. If you dare to run away, I will kill that external cultivator and all the clansmen you left in this city. That's right. That's the kind of eyes filled with hatred. I love to see this kind of eyes. I have to give in to hatred. The more you hate me, the happier I will be when I enter your body in the future. Just wait and see. That day won't be too far away. Before that, I still have many women to pluck. I don't have time to waste with you. In that case, I will see you later, my 19th wife. Silent tears rolled down from the corner of Dolan's eyes. In order to revitalize Chu Lai's bloodline, she had endured countless schemes and deceived everyone to survive until today. However, in order to protect Ning Fan, she told him her biggest secret. That was the fact that the yin qi of the mother and child pond still existed in her body. Moreover, the amount of yin qi in her body was much more than the total amount of yin qi of all the other saintesses. It was really unimaginable. In her body, there was enough yin qi to support her cultivation all the way to the immortal emperor realm. That was everything her father had left for her before he passed away. It was all her hope to revitalize Chu Lai's bloodline. When she first met Ning Fan, she would rather die than to be plucked by him. However, today, in order to protect Ning Fan, she took the initiative to tell the sacred son of the spirit sect about the yin qi and used it to bargain with him. After that, both of them made an agreement. She who had her engagement with the sacred son of the spirit sect was going to marry the sacred son of the spirit sect again. There was no grand wedding, no ceremony, no guests, no blessings. There was only a cell that she couldn't get out of and the continuous moaning and gasping of a woman in the distance. Dolan knew very well how terrifying the spirit sect was. It was a force that had an immortal emperor as its leader. Moreover, it was not comparable to the 5 emperors' forces of the Middle State. It was a true force of the Holy Mountain. Even though the 12 bloodlines of the Holy Mountain were like fire and water, if an external cultivator were to provoke any of the bloodlines, he would definitely be suppressed by the 12 bloodlines. This was the main reason why she did not want Ning Fan to get involved in this matter. If he was careless, he would have to face the siege of countless immortal emperors of the Holy Mountain. In Dolan's opinion, it was a matter of certain death. Therefore, when the sacred son of the spirit sect threatened to kill Ning Fan, Dolan felt fear. That was why she compromised and made this deal. It has already been a few months. Senior should have already finished the second round of the mausoleum seizing competition. With Senior's ability, it definitely won't be a problem for him to get into the top 3. In that case, he would be able to get what he wanted. Senior is an external cultivator. He has a special purpose in coming to the holy region. If everything goes smoothly, he should have already achieved his goal and left the holy region. I have told my clansmen not to tell Senior about this matter. After all, with his strength, it would be futile for him to get involved in this matter. Those clansmen would not disobey my order and speak of this matter carelessly. The sacred son of the spirit sect is my fiancé. Even though the engagement was annulled, it is natural for me to marry him. It has nothing to do with Senior and this matter will not implicate Senior. Today, I seem to have understood my father's feelings a little. I used to hate him. I hated him for violating the commandments of the great inferiority. I hated him for doing things without considering the consequences. I washed the 100 Flowers Peak with blood, slaughtered the Tri-Flames with lightning, pointed my sword at the radiant Buddha. I hated him for killing too many people. I hated him for dying early. I hated him for leaving me alone without anyone to rely on. I hated him for implicating countless clansmen and making them prisoners of the Lioli city. At that time, I didn't understand my father's feelings. I didn't understand the sorrow he felt when he called my mother's name before he passed away. Now, I seem to understand a little. In this world, there will always be someone who can make you give up all your beliefs and even yourself. By the way, I still owe Senior a tuft of innate soul-nourishing spiritual medicine. I didn't give it to him. I left this item in the Holy Mountains Mausoleum. If I don't go and retrieve it, He won't be able to enter the Holy Mountain's mausoleum and obtain this item. I also promise Senior that I won't run around. If I fail to keep my promise, will Senior blame me? Duo Lan wiped away her tears and sighed softly. Her mind was filled with different thoughts. Her life was already about to be completely ruined, and she had already become the sacred son of the spirit sex plaything. However, what she was concerned about was not her own desperate situation but the promise she made with Ning Fan. When she thought that Ning Fan could not find her and would think that she ran away, lied, and betrayed him, she felt worried. However, she would no longer be able to contact Ning Fan and she would not have the chance to explain herself. Forget it. Let it be like this. Senior will only treat me as a soul-locking slave. That's all, Senior, thank you. You brought me to pay respects to my mother's grave on the 100 Flowers Peak. That was the happiest time I had after my father's death. Thank you. Duo Lan felt a little tired. She wanted to fall asleep and no longer listen to the panting and moaning sounds coming from outside the window. However, all of a sudden, she felt the hair on her temples being blown by the wind. Could it be that the window was not closed tightly and the wind blew in? It's impossible. The prison is filled with restrictive spells. How could there be wind? When she opened her eyes, Duo Lan's beautiful eyes were filled with disbelief. Her mouth was wide open. She was so shocked that she could not speak a word. The window of the prison that was filled with restrictive spells had been broken by someone without her knowing. Under the window, accompanied by the golden Buddhist light of the restrictive spells, a white-robed figure fell into her eyes without any mistake. It's actually Ning Fan. Am I hallucinating? If it's not an illusion, why is Senior standing under the window? I heard from your clansmen that you are imprisoned in this place. Is this related to me? Ning Fan asked with a frown. It's not. Who was the one who told Senior about this? This has nothing to do with Senior. Actually, it's me. Duo Lan wanted to explain, but she suddenly had a feeling that Ning Fan had seen through her. At this moment, Ning Fan activated his mind-reading technique and saw many facts from Duo Lan's mind. In just an instant, he understood the whole story of why Duo Lan sacrificed her life to be imprisoned in this place. Ning Fan's tightly knitted brows loosened up. Then, his expression turned into a complicated sigh. Duo Lan, on the other hand, smiled bitterly. How could I forget that Senior knows the mind-reading technique? It's too easy for him to see through my mind. It's impossible for me to lie to him. Then I won't lie anymore. Why do I have to lie? Why do I not dare to admit it even though the person I like is right in front of me? Duo Lan bit her lips. She wanted to tell Ning Fan that she really liked him. She rushed out from the bed and ran towards Ning Fan's arms. She wanted to get into Ning Fan's arms and tell him all the despair she had experienced in the past few days. However, halfway through her journey, she suddenly realized that Ning Fan did not come here alone. Instead, he brought another woman with him. Of course, she did not know Tu Huang. She just thought that he was one of Ning Fan's many lovers who were similar to Ouyang Nuan and Zhang Yu. Tu Huang's appearance was already extremely beautiful. Deep in her bones, she had the aura of a noble lady who looked down on the world. It made Duo Lan feel a sense of inferiority for no reason. She smiled bitterly. The courage that she had mustered for countless days and nights was extinguished just like that. She stopped running in front of Ning Fan. Suddenly, she lost her balance and was pushed into Ning Fan's arms by a jade-like hand that came out of nowhere. What a pretty little wife. Ning Fan, your luck with women is really not shallow. It was Tu Huang. He pushed Duo Lan, who was filled with worries, into Ning Fan's arms. Under normal circumstances, no matter how generous a woman is, she would not push another woman into the arms of the person she likes. Such an action was enough to prove that Tu Huang really did not have any romantic feelings for Ning Fan. Duo Lan cried out in surprise. Being caught off guard, she had already crashed into Ning Fan's arms. Ning Fan did not avoid it. Instead, he held Duo Lan up and gave Tu Huang a strange look, as if he was asking her why she helped him. Tu Huang, on the other hand, shrugged his shoulders as if it was none of his business. Then, he casually glanced at the decorations in the room. There was an indescribable feeling in his heart that he did not know where it came from. Senior, how did you enter this place? This place is protected by the Vajra seal of the spirit sect. Even an immortal king realm expert would not be able to break in. Even if you manage to break in, why does that sacred child of the spirit sect seem to be completely unaware of your arrival? He is still panting and plucking. By the way, how is Senior's result in the mausoleum seizing battle? You must have gotten into the top 3 in the second round. If you have such a rank, you can still participate in the third round. The people of the spirit sect shouldn't have made things difficult for you, right? After her initial emotions subsided, Duo Lan finally thought of a series of questions. She was puzzled and asked, "How is Ning Fan doing now?" Ning Fan seemed to have broken into the restriction forcefully. However, it seemed like the owner of the restriction did not notice him as he was still busy having sex with that woman. There were too many things that Duo Lan wanted to ask. Since she was isolated from the outside world, she had no idea what kind of chaos was happening outside. It was all because of Ning Fan alone. What's so difficult about breaking into this small restriction? Ning Fan could even come and go freely in the 3 flames. He could even do whatever he wanted on the holy mountain. What is a small Xiaofang to him? Ning Fan did not explain too much to Duo Lan. He only briefly told her the purpose of his visit. Since he came to this place, of course, it was to bring Duo Lan away. He did not like to owe people karma. If Duo Lan really sacrificed herself here to help him resist the schemes of the spirit sect, then it was impossible for him to stay out of this matter. The sacred child of the spirit sect? He had even defeated the immortal emperor of the spirit sect. Why would he be afraid of the sacred child of the spirit sect? Now that there was not a single quasi-saint realm expert in the middle state here, there was no existence in this supreme pill sacred region that was worthy of his fear. The sacred child of the spirit sect was far from enough. He couldn't even notice my intrusion. This sacred child of the spirit sect is really too focused on his work. I'm going to meet this sacred child of the spirit sect. Do you want to go with me? Ning Fan asked Duo Lan. Don't go. The sacred child of the spirit sect is a 4th tribulation immortal king. Senior won't be able to defeat him. Senior, you don't have to save me anymore. No matter how Senior came in, Senior, please leave. Ning Fan flicked Duo Lan's forehead angrily. So what if he's a 4th tribulation immortal king? Even when he was suppressed by Xing Huan during the second round of the mausoleum seizing competition, he was not afraid of him. Now that he had killed an immortal emperor, he would no longer view an immortal king as a formidable enemy. I'm not as weak as you think. I'm also not afraid of the spirit sect or the holy mountain. I hate trouble and I don't like to get involved in muddy waters. However, it doesn't mean that I will choose to run away if karma provokes me. From your heart, I know that the sacred child of the spirit sect first schemed against Nuan Air. Then he used my life to force you to submit. He has violated my taboo. Thus, it's impossible for me to spare his life. Ning Fan no longer sought Duo Lan's opinion. Instead, he flicked his sleeve and a golden ray of light shone. Ignoring the restrictive spells of the house, he brought Duo Lan and Tu Huang along and disappeared from where they stood. When they reappeared, the 3 of them were standing outside one of the thousands of prison houses. Inside the house, there were the sounds of women cursing, men's resentful voices, and the excited laughter of the sacred child of the spirit sect. Husband, don't look. But, kill me. Kill me. It was the voice of a woman who was begging for death. Divine Sovereign Ling, let go of my wife. Let him go. I beg you. Please don't. It was a man who was screaming in agony as if he was witnessing his wife being humiliated with his own eyes. Ha! What a fair and tender body. What a beautiful crevice. How moist and arousing. This is your wife. Do you see her? She's enjoying herself under my body. Ha! Do you want to play with her? If you do, I can remove the restrictive spell on you and let you play with the other parts of her body. Shameless. You're shameless. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. It was the man who roared desperately. Then, a loud explosion occurred, destroying the entire prison house. It was the power of a thought fragmentation realm cultivator's self-destruction. After the Golden House was destroyed, the sacred child of the spirit sect stood in the ruins as if there was no one else around him. He ignored the man who had self-destructed and continued to press a woman whose face was flushed red and whose face was full of tears against the wall. The woman's face was full of grief. Gradually, she began to feel the will to die. Her body, which was covered in red marks, suddenly exploded without any warning. The energy waves from the self-destruction of the void were easily suppressed by the sacred child of the spirit sect. Whether it was the thought fragmentation realm's self-destruction or the void's self-destruction, they could not hurt him at all. Under his suppression, the energy waves could not even spread out of the prison house. If not for the fact that he wanted to experience the feeling of playing with a woman in the ruins, he could have prevented the prison house from being destroyed. How unlucky! I didn't expect this Tao companion of Jinling to be so unyielding. I haven't had enough fun with her and she's been destroyed just like that, the sacred child of the spirit sect snorted. He activated his magic power and created clothes to cover his body. The surrounding smoke and dust continued to spread and only subsided after a long time. When the smoke and dust subsided, the sacred child of the spirit sect saw a strange scene. Not far away, a huge green fire dragon lightning shield had been covering the area for an unknown period of time. The fire dragon lightning shield was not far away, but he could not sense any aura from it. There seemed to be some daring intruder hiding under the lightning shield. An intruder has actually entered the Vajra seal of the spirit sect without a sound. How is this possible? Even an immortal king. Hiss, it's a Khanate Dharma treasure. Could it be a celestial emperor? Could it be that senior? Upon closer inspection, the sacred child of the spirit sect recognized the origin of the golden lightning shield. 5 Thunder Destruction Shield. The Khanate Dharma treasure of the Thunder lineage's third ancestor, Lei Chao. Could it be that Lei Chao, the 7 Tribulation Immortal Emperor? If Senior Lei Chao was here, he could indeed sneak in without a sound. After all, a 7 Tribulation Immortal Emperor was an existence that the entire spirit sect could not afford to offend. When the sacred child of the spirit sect thought that the other party might be a 7 Tribulation Immortal Emperor, he could not help but feel bitter. I'm Divine Lord Ling. I didn't know that Senior Lei Chao would visit my humble abode. Please forgive me for not going out to meet you. Although Divine Lord Ling spoke politely, she was thinking about the reason why Lei Chao had come. Such an existence would not come for no reason without cause. If he had any instructions, he could have sent a subordinate to pass a message. He would not have lowered himself to visit. Since he had taken the initiative to come, it was most likely that he wanted to settle the score with her on the spot. Divine Lord Ling secretly calculated in her heart. Although he was guilty of many crimes, the women he harmed usually avoided the disciples and descendants of powerful celestial emperors. He was afraid that he would be tainted by the karma of such celestial emperors. He secretly guessed that there was something wrong with the cauldrons that he had collected over the past 1,000 years that was related to Lei Chao. If that was the case, it would be troublesome. Of course, he would not die because of this. No matter what, he was the sacred child of the spirit sect. He was different from Duo Lan, who had lost her status as a saintess. He was the sacred child that many celestial emperors recognized as a 9th revolution pill refinement master who would become an emperor-grade pill refinement master in the future. Even if Lei Chao came to settle the score, he would not kill him. At most, he would just punish him slightly. If that was the case, it was fine. At most, he would make up for it with Lei Chao. Divine Lord Ling was shrewd. In an instant, she had prepared many countermeasures to deal with the arrival of Lei Chao. Unfortunately, all her countermeasures were met with horror the moment the green fire dragon lightning shield was revealed. The newcomer was not Great Emperor Lei Chao. The newcomer was actually a man and 2 women. Other than Duo Lan, the other 2 were unfamiliar to her. Their cultivation bases did not seem to be very high either. Who are you? What is your relationship with Senior Lei Chao? Why is the 5 lightning annihilation shield in your hands? Divine Lord Ling asked in surprise. I am Ning Fan. You have been isolated from the world for a long time. You probably don't know what I have done outside. Ning Fan said ruthlessly. Ning Fan? This name sounds a little familiar. Yes, it's the external cultivator who is related to Duo Lan. Divine Lord Ling's eyes immediately turned gloomy. Even though he did not know why Senior Lei Chao would lend the 5 lightning annihilation shield to an external cultivator, he did not have a good impression of this external cultivator at all. He did not know that Ning Fan's punishment ring was destroyed in the second round of the mausoleum seizing battle. He did not know that Ning Fan had killed Bai Lu and the chaotic 3 flames and the 4 emperors of the Middle Province. Moreover, he did not know that Ning Fan had defeated the entire sacred mountain and forced them to flee without a trace. If he knew about it, he would certainly not dare to be so calm in front of Ning Fan. Unfortunately, he did not know anything. After all, before the second round of the mausoleum seizing battle ended, he had already entered a life of death seclusion here, living a wonderful life of plucking women every day. Humph. So it's you, this external cultivator. You came for Duo Lan? I see. I understand now. That old man Lei Chao is really scheming. He probably found out about the existence of the massive amount of Yin Qi in Duo Lan's body through some kind of channel. He wanted to plot against it, but he did not want to become enemies with my spirit sect. That's why he lent his natal magic treasure to you. He wanted you, an external cultivator, to offend the spirit sect and snatch Duo Lan. What a great scheme. Senior Lei Chao, who is known as the 100 Lives Lightning Fox. Divine Sovereign Ling began to imagine the reason why Ning Fan possessed the 5 lightning extermination barrier. It made Ning Fan feel speechless towards the sacred child of the spirit sect in front of him. Ning Fan was even more clueless about Lei Chao's title of the 100 Lives Lightning Arc. However, he remembered the scene where Tu Huang and Zhang Yu joined hands to kill the 3 Thunder Sound Emperors. It seemed that the third ancestor, Lei Chao, was indeed the hardest to kill. No matter how he killed him, he would have to resurrect himself. Ning Fan asked himself that if it wasn't for Tu Huang and Zhang Yu's divine abilities and Ouyang Nuan's method to restrain the Thunder Sound secret technique, he probably would not have been able to kill the 3 great emperors of Lei Yun country, Lei Jing and Lei Chao. Even if he managed to kill them in the end, Ning Fan would not get the main credit. Why aren't you talking? It seems like you've tacitly agreed with my guess. As expected, Senior Lei Chao also has his eyes on Duo Lan. This is going to be a little troublesome. Duo Lan's Yin Qi is very important to me. Of course, if Senior Lei Chao fancies this woman, I won't dare to monopolize her. How about this? You, an external cultivator, help me run errands and pass a message to Senior Lei Chao. If Senior Lei Chao is willing, I'm willing to share Duo Lan with him. I'll take 30% of the Yin Qi and Senior Lei Chao will take 70%. How about this? Ning Fan's eyes immediately turned gloomy. Sure enough, he still could not accept Divine Lord Ling's bottomless words. Even though he was also a flower-plucking devil lord, plucking a flower was equivalent to monopolizing it. He had never done something like sharing a flower with another person like Divine Lord Ling. Just thinking about it made him feel disgusted. Moreover, he would never rape another person's wife and daughter in front of another person's husband. It was true that he was an evil person, but he was not someone who had no bottom line. What? Not even 30% and 70%. You, an external cultivator, are really smart. You actually want to ask for more benefits for Senior Lei Chao. It seems like Senior Lei Chao has also promised you something. How about this? If you're willing to give me face and help me put in a good word for you in front of Senior Lei Chao, from today onwards, you will be a friend of my spirit sect. What do you think? Divine Lord Ling's attitude was high and mighty, as if it was Ning Fan's great honor to become a friend of the spirit sect. Ning Fan finally sneered. He was too lazy to watch Divine Lord Ling's one-man show anymore. It's impossible for me and the spirit sect to become friends. Humph! How arrogant! Are you going to reject my kindness? Divine Lord Ling was enraged. Ning Fan, however, did not plan to continue talking nonsense with Divine Lord Ling. He directly activated his 5 lightning annihilation shield. Immediately, Divine Lord Ling's expression changed drastically. He turned around and tried to retreat, but he was sucked in by the 5 lightning annihilation shield. He could not evade it. Then, the lightning shield continued to expand and engulfed him. 5 lightning dragons rammed against each other inside the lightning shield. Divine Lord Ling's groans could be heard from inside the lightning shield. Obviously, his injuries were getting worse under the lightning shield. In a battle between immortal venerables, 12 Nirvana magic treasures were enough to influence the outcome of the battle. In a battle between immortal kings, if one of them possesses an innate magic treasure, it would be almost impossible for the other party to lose. At this moment, Ning Fan was clearly only using one innate magic treasure. However, Divine Lord Ling, who was a 4 Tribulation Immortal King, was in a life-threatening situation. If he does not escape, he would certainly die. The reason why he was subdued by Ning Fan in a single move was not only because the 5 Lightning Annihilation Shield was powerful, but also because Divine Lord Ling had been plucking others to cultivate until today. His cultivation realm was shallow. Although he was a 4 Tribulation Immortal King in name, his strength was only slightly stronger than an ordinary 3rd Tribulation Immortal King. This was the helplessness of most dual cultivators. It was not Ning Fan's helplessness. So what if you have an innate magic treasure? I can't defeat you. However, I have plenty of ways to escape. Spirit Dispersal Technique. Divine Lord Ling let out a furious roar. His body suddenly turned into millions of rays of light and flew away, ignoring the suppression of the 5 Lightning Annihilation Shield. As soon as he escaped, Divine Lord Ling, who had turned into millions of rays of light, was instantly filled with joy. However, his joy did not last for too long. Suddenly, a rope that was flashing with lightning appeared in midair. The end of the rope was connected to the end, forming a rope loop. Its entire body was glowing with lightning and it emitted an innate chi. Divine Lord Ling wanted to turn into millions of rays of light to escape, but all of them were sucked into the rope loop. As soon as the rays of light gathered, Divine Lord Ling was forced out of his physical body. He was tightly bound by the lightning rope that was intertwined with black lightning. Once he was bound by the rope, he could not even mobilize his magic power. Lightning Prison Rope. It's actually the 2nd innate magic treasure. It belongs to Lei Jing, the 2nd ancestor of the Thunder Sound tribe. You even borrowed Lei Jing's treasure. Divine Lord Ling was terrified. Ning Fan, who was too lazy to explain the matter of borrowing treasures, activated the 5 Lightning Annihilation Shield once again, covering Divine Lord Ling tightly. He had to admit that the magic treasures that he obtained from the 3 emperors of the Thunder Sound tribe were extremely effective when used together. The lightning prison rope was heaven-defying when it was used to bind people, but its offensive power was insufficient. The 5 Lightning Annihilation Shield's offensive power was fierce, but it was easy for people to escape from it. If the 2 of them were used together, one to bind people while the other to explode them, it would undoubtedly be a powerful killing weapon. Facing a 4th Tribulation Immortal King like Divine Lord Ling, who did not live up to his name, Ning Fan did not even move his feet. He just controlled the 2 magic treasures to force Divine Lord Ling to the brink of death. You really want to kill me? Divine Lord Ling was extremely shocked. He could already tell that Ning Fan's killing intent towards him was not fake. It also did not seem like Ning Fan was representing the Thunder Sound tribe to negotiate with him. I don't understand. His identity is so special and his talent in pill refinement is so high. Even if Lei Jing and Lei Chao come here personally, they would not dare to kill him on the spot. That would undoubtedly be a declaration of war against the entire spirit sect. Even a faction as strong as the Thunder Sound tribe would not be willing to fight to the death with the other factions. Why does Ning Fan want to kill him? Isn't he afraid of offending the spirit sect? Isn't he afraid of offending the entire Holy Mountain? Hold on. He seemed to have forgotten about the fact that Ning Fan's punishment ring was destroyed. As an external cultivator, why did he release the punishment cold dew or destroy it privately? Did he stay in seclusion for too long? Did he miss too many major events in the outside world? Seeing that he was about to die in the 5 Lightning Annihilation Shield, Divine Lord Ling gritted his teeth and suddenly activated the natal spiritual talisman that he had refined for countless years. Almost every member of the spirit sect had a natal spiritual talisman. Each of them had different talismans and their abilities were also different. The ability of Divine Lord Ling's natal spiritual talisman was to open a spatial passage. Moreover, it was the kind of opening that could ignore all restraints. Even if he was being suppressed by Ning Fan's 5 lightning annihilation shield, as long as he willed it, he could directly open the passage to the Holy Mountain's mausoleum and attract the seniors inside to kill Ning Fan. My spirit sect can only use 3 natal spiritual talismans in a lifetime. You must choose carefully. Each talisman can only be used once and you must use it sparingly. Today, I can't care about that anymore. This is my last spirit-dispersing shuttle talisman. Ning Fan, you forced me to use this talisman. I will settle this score with you right away. Just you wait to suffer the wrath of my spirit sect. Passage open. Divine Lord Ling shouted. A talisman with overwhelming spiritual chi suddenly flew out of his body and ignited in front of him. As soon as the talisman was ignited, Divine Lord Ling's chi became significantly weaker. It seemed like he had consumed a lot of energy. Then, a black hole appeared inside the 5 lightning annihilation shield. One end of the black hole was connected to this place while the other end was directly connected to the Holy Mountain's mausoleum. Old Ancestor, save me. Elders, save me. Divine Lord Ling shouted at the other end of the black hole. A response immediately came from the other end of the black hole. It's the voice of the Holy Sun. The Holy Sun was actually forced to use the spirit-dispersing shuttle talisman. Who is the one who forced the Holy Sun to a dead end? Let's quickly accept the permission to open this black hole and travel through it to save the Holy Sun. Does he really think that he can bully our holy mountain as he pleases just because we are in a precarious situation? I would like to see which old man on the grassland is bullying the Holy Sun of our spirit sect. Countless angry voices echoed. It was said that most of the cultivators of the spirit sect who spoke were the survivors who were rescued by the Holy Mountain in a comatose state. The battle on the Holy Mountain had cast a shadow in the hearts of all the cultivators of the Holy Mountain. Without the protection of the Radiant Buddha, the Holy Mountain did not dare to show itself in the outside world. They were afraid that Ning Fan would attack them again. On one hand, all the immortal cultivators of the Holy Mountain were extremely afraid of Ning Fan's devil might. On the other hand, they were filled with resentment. They did not dare to vent their anger on Ning Fan. Now, Divine Lord Ling's request for help was the perfect opportunity for them to vent their anger. These cultivators of the spirit sect wanted to see which old monster of the grassland was bullying the Holy Sun. It would be a good opportunity for them to vent their anger. Just as some of them were about to open the passageway of the black hole that Divine Lord Ling sent to them, a few of them stopped them. Don't be in a hurry to open this passageway. Let's first ask who is chasing after the Holy Sun. If it's that person, wouldn't we be letting that person invade the Holy Mountain directly if we open this passageway? I forgot about this possibility. But it shouldn't be such a coincidence. It can't be such a coincidence. Even though the Holy Mountain has lost its face now, it is still not a place that ordinary people dare to provoke. Other than that external cultivator, I can't think of a second person who dares to force the Holy Sun of our clan into a dead end. If that's the case, it's better for us to find out the truth before opening the passageway. Therefore, some cautious people asked Lord Spiritual God about the ins and outs of the matter. When they found out that the person who trapped and killed Divine Lord Ling was Ning Fan, all the cultivators of the spirit sect sucked in a cold breath. Their expressions changed. No one dared to open the passageway on the other side of the black hole to save Divine Lord Ling anymore. What do you mean by this? Why aren't you coming to rescue me? Will you only be satisfied when I die here? Where's the Patriarch? The Patriarch loves me the most. Why hasn't he come to save me? Divine Lord Ling was infuriated by his clansmen's inaction. The old ancestor withstood the heavenly tribulation that day and has yet to wake up from his severe injuries. Even if he wakes up, I'm afraid he won't dare to save the Holy Sun. Why? He's just an external cultivator. Why are all of you so afraid of him? Is it because he has a close relationship with the Sonic Thunder lineage that allowed him to borrow 2 Khanate Dharma treasures? Spiritual Lord said angrily. Close relationship? Cough, cough, cough. The saint must have been in seclusion outside for too long, so he was not too clear about the drastic changes on the holy mountain. The external cultivator who trapped you has no relationship with the Thunder Sound lineage. Not only that, but the blood debt of the 4 emperors can be traced back to this demon. Because of this demon, the Thunderclap 4 emperors died one after another. The other side of the black hole said bitterly. What? Lei Yungue, an 8 tribulation cultivator, and Lei Jing, Lei Chao, and Lei Tsong, who were 7 tribulation cultivators, were all dead? The karma is related to this child? Spiritual Lord's face turned pale. At this moment, he had a speculation that seemed absurd but was close to the truth. Perhaps the reason why Ning Fan possessed the Khanate Dharma treasures of the Thunderclap Immortal Emperor was not because he borrowed them but because he killed them and snatched their treasures. But is that possible? That's an immortal emperor. How can an immortal emperor be killed by an external venerated immortal? This Ning Fan is not an ancient venerated immortal. It seems like you don't know anything at all. You've already encountered this demon. This demon first killed enlightened being Bai Lu in the Sea Shaman tribe. Then he invaded the 3 flames in an unknown way. After that, he massacred the He clan of the Wood Flame and killed their immortal emperor. The Sky Flame Mountain of Corpses was invaded by him. Even the Wood Lord and the Stone Lord who were guarding this place could do nothing to him. The Meng clan of the Stone Flame was destroyed by him and the immortal emperor of the Meng clan was killed. After that, this devil returned to the grassland and went to the Middle State. He killed 4 of the 5 emperors of the Middle State in a single night. After that, this devil became even more lawless. He attacked the holy mountain with his own strength and killed countless people. If it wasn't because we have the mausoleum illusion technique to protect ourselves, I'm afraid the entire holy mountain would have been wiped out by him. On the other side of the black hole, the cultivators of the spirit sect recounted the atrocities that Ning Fan had committed in the past few days. Spiritual Lord was completely dumbfounded. The impact was too much and too great. He could not believe that what these people said was true at all. A bunch of nonsense. How is it possible for this young man to kill immortal emperors? How is it possible for him to destroy the holy mountain? Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and open the passage at the other end of the black hole. Come and save me. Hurry. Spiritual Lord was on the verge of breaking down. However, the passage at the other end of the black hole was still not opened. Even if those cultivators of the spirit sect watched Spiritual Lord die, they would never open the passage. Once the passage is opened, they could cross countless distances from the interior of the holy mountain and arrive at this place. However, even if they arrive at this place, they would not have the ability to save Ning Fan. Instead, Ning Fan might take the opportunity to invade the interior of the holy mountain's mausoleum through the black hole. The heavens took pity on them. It took them a lot of effort to hide the holy mountain back into the endless void. If they let Ning Fan invade the holy mountain, it would certainly be destroyed. Bastard! All of you are bastards. Save me. Save me. I will give all of my human cauldrons to whoever saves me. Where's the old ancestor? Old ancestor, save me. Where are you? Where are the elders? Why aren't any of you coming to save me? I don't believe it. I don't believe what you said is true. I don't believe that this external cultivator is so terrifying. He's just a mere external cultivator. He's just a mere external cultivator. It's fake. It's fake. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Bang. Ning Fan withdrew the 5 lightning annihilation barrier and the lightning prison rope. Only ashes were left on the ground. Spiritual Lord was nowhere to be seen. She was completely killed by the 5 lightning annihilation barrier. Ning Fan, of course, was not concerned about Spiritual Lord's unwillingness before his death. Everything in this world had its causes and effects. Since Spiritual Lord was the one who provoked him first, he could not blame anyone else for what happened to him. What Ning Fan was slightly interested in was not Spiritual Lord's storage pouch, which had a weak foundation. Instead, it was the black hole that he left behind. The other end of the black hole leads directly to the Holy Mountain's mausoleum. It's a very interesting ability. This sacred child of the spirit sect is not weak after all. If he can really attract the help of the immortal emperors of the Holy Mountain, there might be a huge battle. Unfortunately, no one in the Holy Mountain's mausoleum dared to open the passage at the other end of the black hole and come to his aid, as if they sensed that Ning Fan was investigating the passage of the black hole. The people on the other side of the passage immediately cursed. They hurriedly extinguished the passage, as if they were afraid that Ning Fan would have other ways to forcefully open the passage and directly arrive at the mausoleum through heaven and earth. Their curses naturally did not have much confidence. Instead, they made people tremble with fear, treating Ning Fan as a dreadful monster. It had nothing to do with cultivation base. It had something to do with battle achievements. The great devil Lord Ning was definitely an existence that was comparable to the ancient immortal venerables. A single mistake could lead to the destruction of the Holy Mountain. Thus, these cultivators of the Holy Mountain had no choice but to be fearful. So what if he's an external cultivator? Currently, no one in the entire Supreme Pill Sacred region would dare to look down on Ning Fan just because of his identity as an external cultivator. Tu Huang was calm and composed. He did not find it strange at all that Ning Fan could kill Spiritual Lord in such a short time. Moreover, she even felt that Ning Fan was a little slow in killing them. According to the number of trump cards that Ning Fan had, if he were to use all of them, the likes of Spiritual Lord Ling would probably not be able to survive a single blow. If Ning Fan enters a desperate state and uses the 800 Ancient Devil's mountain-breaking attack without caring about his consumption and injuries, even a 6th Tribulation Immortal Emperor's physical body might be destroyed by Ning Fan within 10 breaths. Her little butterfly was very strong. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to successfully rescue her from the Holy Mountain. Tu Huang was aware of this, but Duo Lan was not. She was as uninformed as Spiritual Lord Ling. At this moment, when she saw Ning Fan killing Spiritual Lord Ling, who was a 4th Tribulation Immortal King, with just a wave of his hand, her worldview was almost completely turned upside down. I see some of my shadow on you. It's the feeling of inferiority when you face my little butterfly. Are you also one of my smiles? Tu Huang's bright eyes flashed with indescribable kindness as he transmitted his voice to Duo Lan. Duo Lan did not know how powerful Tu Huang was. Thus, she did not feel any pressure when facing him. She replied with a surprised tone. Elder sister, I don't really understand what you're saying. What little butterfly? What inferiority? What smile? It's not strange that you don't know. Even I myself don't understand what I'm talking about. Tu Huang smiled in disappointment and said, If you are my smile, then carry my obsession and accompany my little butterfly. Don't be a coward anymore. Don't inherit this shortcoming of mine. I still don't understand. It's fine if you don't understand. I don't understand anything either. But I hope that my little butterfly can be happy. In the world without me, in the parallel paths that will never intersect with each other, and in the world where the entire world is filled with enemies, I hope that she will no longer be alone. Duo Lan could not understand anything. However, she could see through Tu Huang's eyes. That flash of gentleness when he talked about Ning Fan had nothing to do with romance, but it was much more important than romance. If it's possible, I would rather my little butterfly stay in the illusionary world forever and never walk out of it. I would rather he never understand that all his smiles are fake. They are all lies that I've lied to him. I hope that he will be happy. I don't want him to suffer. However, I'm more afraid that he will be disappointed after knowing everything. If it's possible, I'm willing to become the chain that will allow him to open his eyes and see the world clearly. I want him to never see everything clearly. However, if he really decides to return to his hometown in the true world, I'm also willing to use my tears as a key to send him home. Tu Huang did not understand what he was saying at all. She only knew that she was walking step by step towards death. She was walking towards the death that the 10 supreme wasps had prepared for her. However, even if she was going to die, She did not want her little butterfly to be schemed against by the 10 wasps because of her. That's good. It's enough to have a smile to accompany him. He definitely won't be lonely, as long as he doesn't open his eyes. What are you two talking about using telepathy? Ning Fan had cleaned up Divine Sovereign Ling's spoils of war. Then, he waved his hand to destroy the many restrictive spells in this place and conveniently released the women who were imprisoned here. Only then did he ask Tu Huang and Duo Lan curiously. He always felt that Tu Huang's behavior was a little strange and he was hiding something. Thus, he naturally used the mind-reading technique to pry into the thoughts of the two women. He could not see through Tu Huang's thoughts, but it was much easier for Duo Lan. She easily understood all of their telepathy. Every word that Tu Huang said made him feel as if he understood it, but not really. He had many thoughts in his mind, but none of them could be exposed. All of a sudden, he had a strange feeling. It was as if he was very close to Tu Huang, but at the same time, he felt like he was very far away from him. It was as if there was a thin piece of dream between the two of them. Tu Huang. Sword Ancestor. Chapter 1085. Elegant Square was the place where Supreme 10 Wasps lived in seclusion. In the past, Ning Fan had met Supreme 10 Wasps in Lioli City for the first time, and the latter had invited him to this place. Ning Fan ignored the 10 Supreme Wasps. Unknowingly, he still came to this place because of Duo Lan's matter. Even though Supreme 10 Wasps was currently trapped in the turbulent flow of space and was not in the Xiaofang, Ning Fan still felt a little strange in his heart. However, he could not tell what it was. At this moment, he had also discovered that Tu Huang was hiding a lot of things from his words. It seemed like Tu Huang was trying to hide something from him. However, Jiang Yi could sense that Tu Huang would not harm him. Tu Huang's concealment was for his own good. He wanted to get to the bottom of it, but the Slaughter Sovereign chose to remain silent, unwilling to speak the truth. Regarding this, Ning Fan could only let out a helpless sigh and temporarily ignore the fact that Tu Huang had concealed the truth from him. While the quasi-saints of Despicable Clan were trapped in the spatial turbulence, Ning Fan planned to loot the entire clan. Then, before the demi-saints returned from the space turbulence, he made arrangements for Emperor Tu, Dolan, and the others who had deep karma with him, and left the Supreme Dan sacred region. The sacred child of the spirit sect had already been eliminated and Duo Lan had also been rescued. Naturally, Ning Fan would not continue staying in the Xiaofang, which made him uncomfortable. Although he had left the Xiaofang, he did not immediately leave Lioli City. Instead, he quietly went to the Southern Medicine Temple, which was filled with water jars. Supreme 10 Bees wasn't at the Xiaofang. Similarly, Supreme Ox Ghost wasn't at the Southern Medicine Temple either. The Southern Medicine Temple still had its refined and sophisticated appearance. The inside of the temple was a completely different world. The commotion caused by Ning Fan's arrival in Lioli City did not reach the Southern Medicine Temple at all. In the Southern Medicine Temple, only Xin Yu Chun, who was wearing a mask and topless, was cooking a water jar. When Ning Fan and the others arrived, Xin Yu Chun's eyes immediately became alert and he spoke to Ning Fan in a distant tone. "Who are you? Is he a friend of Senior Nyo?" The senses of his medicine soul were especially sharp. He was one of the top talents in the Great Humble Clan. Even though Ning Fan and Tu Huang's cultivation base was not obvious, he could still sense the massive qi that was faintly hidden in their bodies. It was an extremely terrifying existence, and it was not something that he could contend against with his insignificant cultivation. Since this person was so powerful, it was highly likely that he had made a deal with Old Man Yogue. "You don't recognize me anymore?" Ning Fan was surprised. Then he frowned as if he had a guess. "Should I know you?" "He looks familiar, but I can't remember." Xin Yu Chun shook his head. His soul was split into two and he had two personalities. At this moment, it was his second personality. However, logically speaking, his second personality should already be familiar with Ning Fan. However, at this moment, he was behaving in an unfamiliar manner. It was truly strange. "I heard from Emperor Lu Tua that you're also part of Supreme Ox Ghost scheme. Time me. Time, one mountain time. Time. You witnessed your mother being killed by Shi Yan's volcano with your own eyes. Because of that, you have a monstrous hatred towards Shi Yan and your soul was split into two. This matter is indeed the scheme of Supreme Ox Ghost. He nurtured the Tao in your body and planted reincarnation, right? It is also because of this that your second personality clearly knows me. Now that we have met again, all of your memories have been erased by the reincarnation. Ning Fan said something that Xin Yu Chun could not understand. Xin Yu Chun was at a loss. Suddenly he felt his soul tremble. He felt a pain as if his sea of consciousness was shattering. He hugged his head and squatted on the ground. His face was filled with pain. Miss Fester? You are my Fester. No, that's not right, my memory is blank. Who are you? Who is Master? This young man seems to be Niu Gui's vessel to nurture his Tao. Ning Fan, what do you plan to do? Ning Fan sighed. Even though I've heard about Tao nurturing in some ancient books, it's my first time seeing it with my own eyes. Although I've met this young man many times, I only saw through him today. Nurturing the Tao with a human's life. Once the Tao is formed, the human will die. This Xin Yu Chun has some karma with me. I can't just watch him die because of Niu Gui's scheme. If Niu Gui is still here, it's impossible for me to help this young man get rid of his scheme. However, now that he's trapped in the spatial turbulence, it's an opportunity. Even though the injuries you've accumulated from attacking the Holy Mountain are temporarily suppressed, you shouldn't use too much magic power. The Tao seed in this young man's body has already reached a certain level. If you save him, you'll suffer a heavy backlash and your injuries will definitely worsen. If you insist on saving him, I'll do it for you. Tu Huang said righteously. Your injuries are worse than mine, all right? I can feel a trace of death chi coming from your body. Even though it's not enough to kill an existence like you, if you don't take care of your body, your foundation will more or less be damaged. I'll do it myself. I'll settle my karma myself. Ning Fan stopped Tu Huang, who was about to help, and shook his head speechlessly. Then he walked towards Xin Yu Chun. What made him speechless was Tu Huang's lack of care for his body. He was already severely injured, but he still wanted to use his magic power recklessly. Since the trip to the Fire Soul Tower, he realized that Tu Huang did not care for his body at all. I have to change this. Xin Yu Chun felt an immense pressure from Ning Fan, who was approaching him step by step. His back was drenched in cold sweat. He did not know what Ning Fan was trying to do by approaching him at this moment. His heart was on high alert. Enduring the headache, he stood up and got into a fighting stance. If it's necessary, he would resist Ning Fan. Unfortunately, as Ning Fan used the finger-pointing heavenly technique, Xin Yu Chun was instantly frozen on the spot and could no longer move. Don't be afraid. I won't harm you. Of course, I'm not your master. I owe you the karma of the void renunciation tribulation. Because of your roar that day, I've gained enlightenment. Today, I'm going to return this karma to you. Ning Fan stopped walking. He waved his 5 fingers and pressed them towards Xin Yu Chun's head. Xin Yu Chun, who was immobilized, could not resist Ning Fan's attack. However, before Ning Fan's 5 fingers came into contact with him, he suddenly felt nauseous. As he vomited, a huge hand that was covered in white hair that was neither human nor beast actually came out from his throat. It collided with Ning Fan's 5 fingers. Ning Fan was a crippled divine spirit body. When he collided with the strange hand in his throat, he actually felt a sharp pain as if his finger bones were broken. Moreover, he was forced to take 7 to 8 steps back. It was enough to show how hard and powerful that strange hand was. After sending Ning Fan flying back, the strange hand began to extend continuously. Then, it flew out like a strange snake and slithered towards Ning Fan. Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. How could he not know that this strange hand was the backup plan that Supreme Niu Gui had placed in Xin Yu Chun's body to prevent someone from destroying the arrangements that he had placed in Xin Yu Chun's body? Just a simple attack from a strange hand had the might of a 6th Tribulation Immortal Emperor. Unfortunately, it was just a hand after all and not a real immortal emperor. One should know that Ning Fan had even slashed a 6th Tribulation Immortal Emperor at his peak. Why would he be afraid of a strange hand? At the moment when the strange hand approached him, Ning Fan raised his hand and shot out a ray of black lightning. It turned into circles of black lightning ropes that tightly bound the strange hand. Its magic power was sealed, making it unable to move any closer. It was the lightning prison ropes. After that, Ning Fan took out an ancient bronze mirror that was flashing with lightning. It was the natal treasure of Lei Yun country, the first ancestor of the sound of thunder. He shone it at the strange hand. All of a sudden, a purple lightning bolt that emitted a destructive chi shot out from the mirror, turning the strange hand that was bound by the lightning prison ropes into ashes. After the strange hand was destroyed, Xin Yu-chun immediately spurted out a mouthful of black blood. However, his complexion became much rosier and his eyes became clear. They were no longer blank and blank. Many of the things that he had forgotten were slowly being recalled by him. "Master, why are you here? Why can't I move? What happened?" "Don't ask. Just wait for a moment. I will help you solve the problem in your body." Ning Fan suppressed the need within his body. In order to instantly kill that strange hand, he had injected too much magic power into the two innate magic treasures. After consuming a huge amount of magic power, the injuries that he had temporarily suppressed had worsened, causing his chi to become slightly chaotic. However, this was not a big problem. In the blink of an eye, he steadied his breathing and his chi returned to normal. Then, he raised his hand and took out a brown seed from Xin Yu-chun's body. The surface of the seed was covered with strange patterns. There was an enormous chi hidden within. It was connected to countless flesh and nerves which were connected to Xin Yu-chun's life. This is the Dao seed. It's a strange item. If you want to remove it, you must be careful. If you are not careful, you might kill Xin Yu-chun as well. Tu Huang reminded. "Don't worry. I know what I'm doing." Ning Fan's body swayed and his body kept shrinking. Eventually, he shrunk to the size of a speck of dust. Then, he turned into a ray of light and flew into the Dao seed. After a long time, a crack suddenly appeared on the Dao seed. Then, it weathered bit by bit and turned into ashes. A ray of light flew out and landed on the ground, turning into Ning Fan. At this moment, Ning Fan's face was already pale. Obviously, he had consumed a lot of energy in order to destroy the Dao seed in Xin Yu-chun's body. "Master, what exactly happened? The split personalities in my body have actually merged into one." Xin Yu-chun was shocked. Then he became overjoyed. At this moment, he was neither the stupid first personality nor the cold second personality. He was the Xin Yu-chun who made a deal with Nyogue and helped him build the vats. At the same time, he was also the Xin Yu-chun who supported Ning Fan foolishly. When the two souls merged into one, his strength naturally increased by a lot. Moreover, all the side effects of his soul splitting into two had also disappeared. "I have already repaid the karma that I owed you. You have already lost the value of scheming against me. That Supreme Nyogue will no longer scheme against you. A quasi-saint is afraid of karma like a tiger. If there isn't a sufficient price, he won't kill you. You can continue to stay here and help him build vats, or you can return to the southern border. You can decide for yourself. From today onwards, the karma between us is settled. How about this? Just in case, I will give you this item. If you send it to Supreme Nyogue, he will owe you something. In order to pursue the third step of perfection, he won't dare to bite the hand that fed him and harm you. If he wants to hate someone, he will only hate me." Ning Fan flipped his hand and took out a jade bottle. There was only a small drop of extreme yang water sealed inside the jade bottle. However, even this small drop was already extremely valuable. This item was the karma that Ning Fan had set up between Xin Yu-chun and Nyogue. It was a temptation that Nyogue was unwilling to give up in order to improve his cultivation base. As long as this good karma exists, Nyogue would not dare to harm Xin Yu-chun. He would only hate Ning Fan because he had destroyed all the arrangements that Nyogue had set up on Xin Yu-chun. "What is this? Don't ask. Just give this item to Supreme Nyogue. Then he won't harm you. Then the karma between us will be settled." "Master, are you leaving?" Xin Yu-chun gritted his teeth. Now that his two souls had merged into one, he was no longer an idiot. He could see that everything that Ning Fan had done for him was just to get rid of the karma between them. Before I leave, I'll tell you one last time. I'm not your master. Ning Fan felt a slight headache. He stomped on the ground and a ray of black light emerged from the ground. It carried Ning Fan, Tu Huang and Duo Lan and flew out of Lioli City in an instant. In this way, the karma between him and Lioli City had been settled. But my cultivation base is low and I don't understand the word karma. I don't understand what Senior Nyogue is plotting against me. I also don't understand what you have done to help me. Even though you are unwilling to acknowledge me as your disciple, you are the only master that I will acknowledge in my life. It's my duty as your disciple to send you off. Xin Yu Chun kowtowed 3 times in the direction where Ning Fan had left. His face that was deeply buried in the ground had a hint of disappointment. Once Master leaves, I guess he won't come back anymore. I wish Master a prosperous martial arts, a bright future, and a resounding devil name. In the Great Bay clan, there were 3 Heavenly Dao gold mines and 5 Heavenly Dao silver mines. These gold and silver mines were not scattered across the Great Bay clan. Instead, they were gathered together. There were 3 gold and 5 silver mines. There were a total of 8 mines. They were like 8 heavenly dragons that were sleeping somewhere under the grassland. They were not under the grassland of the Middle State. Instead, they were under a place called the Northern Barbarian Grassland. The Northern Barbarian Grassland was one of the stronger grasslands in the entire Great Bay clan. There were many immortal venerables and immortal kings guarding this place. Even though this place was not the Middle State, there were also incomparably hard rock strata under the ground. Even a 12th Nirvana rebirth magic treasure could not break it. However, because this kind of rock strata repelled magic power, it was not suitable to be used to refine magic treasures. Instead, it was often mined by the cultivators of the Northern Barbarian Grassland to build prisons. Of course, the cost of mining such hard rocks was also extremely high. Ning Fan rode on the dark immortal cloud and left the Middle State. He flew to the Northern Barbarian Grassland. Every tribe in the Northern Barbarian Grassland felt uneasy when he flew past them. A few bold immortal venerables and immortal kings of the grasslands soared into the sky, trying to stop Ning Fan's arrival. However, Ning Fan casually threw out the devil-subduing bead. All of them coughed out blood and fell from the sky. With so many treasures, no one below the immortal emperor realm could make Ning Fan treat them seriously. What made these immortal venerables and immortal kings rejoice was that even though Ning Fan injured them who tried to stop him, he did not kill them. It seemed like he did not kill passers-by who did not have deep karma with him. Besides, even though Ning Fan had arrived at the Northern Barbarian Grassland, he did not attack any of the Northern Barbarian Grassland. Instead, he kept the dark immortal cloud in a strange manner. Then, he brought Tu Huang and his 2 daughters with him and went into the underground rock strata. The reason why he came to this place from afar and went deep underground was because of the Heavenly Dao gold and silver ores that were hidden in the depths of this place. Even among the immortal emperors of the Great Bay clan, only a few people knew where the gold and silver of the Great Bay clan came from. However, Duo Lan, who was the holy maiden of Chu Lai, knew about this secret. After all, among the 12 veins of the Holy Mountain, the responsibility of Chu Lai's lineage was to guard these Heavenly Dao gold and silver ores. Why is Senior looking for gold and silver ores? Could it be that you are interested in the gold and silver of the mortal world just like the mortals of my clan? Duo Lan was very puzzled. In her impression, Ning Fan did not seem to be interested in the gold and silver of the mortals. This matter is related to a great secret of heaven and earth. I won't explain it to you. Your cultivation base is still weak. It won't be a good thing if you know too much. Ning Fan answered. Oh. Duo Lan answered obediently. Since Senior did not want to tell her, she would not ask any further. Her strong point was that she was obedient. Ning Fan carried the 2 women in each of his arms and advanced using the earth escape art while his forehead was covered with sweat. The density of the rock strata was very high. To the extent that he needed to use the earth escape art, He would need to use magic power that was several times or even tens of times that of ordinary soil. If Ning Fan was in his normal condition, he would not feel any burden. However, his current injuries were extremely severe and he had yet to recuperate. Thus, it was naturally quite difficult for him to advance. Fortunately, this difficulty did not last for too long. Under Duo Lan's guidance, Ning Fan moved stealthily in the rock strata from left to right. After a few hours, he arrived at a space that was isolated from the rest of the world in the deepest part of the ground. Only peak immortal kings could come to this place using the Earth Escape Art. If low-grade cultivators want to reach this place, they would have to be transported by experts. This place was not the seal of the two realms in the underground world. The seal of the two realms in the northern barbarian grassland was not located here. This underground world was dark and damp. There was even an underground river flowing rapidly in this place. On the banks of the underground river, there were lamps that burned brightly. The light from the flames illuminated the path that was paved with bronze stone slabs. The path extended deep and dark. Along the way, Ning Fan could see countless miners of Chu Lai's lineage who had been working here for generations. He could also see the 8 mines that had the layout of 8 sleeping dragons. Even though the miners here belonged to Chu Lai, they did not care about the affairs of the outside world. As they were deep underground, they were not aware of what was happening in the outside world. They only had one task: to mine the gold and silver mines day and night. There were more than 10,000 miners in this place. Among them, there were a few hundred auras that had reached the second step of the Immortal King realm. Besides, there was also an ancient immortal venerate named Chu Lai who was guarding this place. That ancient immortal venerate's nickname was Zishu. He had a rather high status among the immortal venerates in Chu Lai's lineage. He was one of those powerful immortal venerates who had half a step into the Immortal King realm. At this moment, Immortal Venerate Zishu was cultivating on one of the dragon heads of the 8 mines. When he sensed the arrival of Ning Fan's group, he immediately frowned. Every 100 years, the Sacred Mountain would only send someone here to collect the gold and silver mines that have been mined in the past 100 years. It seems like it is not the time to collect the mines yet. The newcomers also don't seem to be the special envoy of the Sacred Mountain. Who are you? Zishu's figure flashed and disappeared from the dragon head. At the next moment, he appeared in front of Ning Fan and the others. His shout immediately attracted the attention of all the miners in the area. One after another, they took out their weapons and gathered towards him. Ning Fan and the others who were walking on the bronze path were surrounded by rays of flowing light in the blink of an eye. Ning Fan glanced at Zishu indifferently and then retracted his gaze. His cultivation base was only close to the 3rd tribulation of the Eternal Era. Thus, he could not pay attention to him. The mines here did not seem to be heavily guarded as expected. Come to think of it, no one in the Supreme Pill Sacred region knew about the 2 formations of the ancient country. Who would really guard the gold and silver of the Heavenly Tao as if they were treasures? It would be strange if there were Immortal Emperor Realm old monsters guarding this place for a long time. What's going on? So it's the Saintess. With the help of the weak light, Zishu saw Duo Lan's appearance clearly. His expression was slightly surprised. Then he sneered. I wonder why Saintess Duo Lan has come all the way here? The current Chu Lai Emperor seemed to have ordered that you are not allowed to get close to the mines, right? Are you planning to openly disobey your master's order? Master? Does he really treat me as his disciple? I am a dignified saintess of a lineage. My status is so respected that I can be on the same level as the immortal emperors of a lineage. Why do I need to listen to his order? Duo Lan said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. You really talk big. This is not the tone that a saintess who has lost her power should have. Is it because you brought 2 helpers that you dare to talk to me so arrogantly? You just want to use the thick earth chi of this place to cultivate, right? Unfortunately, with me here, don't even think about taking a step into this place. I will even capture you and punish you for disobeying the order on behalf of the current Chu Lai. Zishu sneered. With a wave of his hand, countless dark golden shadows of rats flew towards Duo Lan and the others. He could not see the exact details of these rat shadows, but he could vaguely tell that they were some kind of powerful offensive abilities. If the attacks land on Duolan, she would certainly be severely injured or even killed with her current cultivation base. It seems like you are not Duolan's relative. If that's the case, I don't need to hold back. Ning Fan shook his head. He already knew that as a saintess who had lost her power, Duolan would be in a difficult situation in Chu Lai's faction. However, he did not expect that a random venerated immortal Chu Lai would dare to injure Duolan with just his cultivation base. With him around, it was naturally impossible for Duolan to be injured. With a flick of his sleeve, the attacks of the rat shadows that Zishu released were all forcefully kept into his sleeve without any exception. The process was indescribably easy. Zishu's expression turned pale with fright when he saw what happened. He did not expect that a young man who looked like an ordinary immortal venerated immortal would actually be so powerful. At that moment, he no longer dared to underestimate his enemy. His body swayed and countless rays of light shone from his body, turning into a 100 zhang large single-horned rat. It was his eternal true body. As soon as this eternal true body appeared, Zishu's chi broke through to the third level of eternal tribulations, making him comparable to a true third tribulation immortal king. He was an immortal venerated immortal king with excellent aptitudes. The fact that he could cultivate the eternal true body before attaining the immortal king realm was a proof of that. One should know that there were some third tribulation immortal kings who could not cultivate the eternal true body occasionally. He was an immortal venerated immortal with a bright future. If there were no accidents, he would advance to the immortal king realm step by step and walk further and further on the path of the immortal king realm. Unfortunately, he ran into Ning Fan. Ning Fan was too lazy to talk nonsense with Zishu. He raised his hand and took out the Jia Luo Monarch Devil subduing bead, causing Zishu to cough out blood. Then he activated the Divine Thunder Mirror, and a purple thunderbolt blasted Zishu's huge body into two. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Seeing that Zishu wasn't dead yet, Ning Fan took out the Windfire Cattail fan and fanned the dying Zishu into ashes. As his magic power was depleted, he let out a cough and shook his head. Then he kept the 3 innate magic treasures. From the moment he attacked to the moment he killed, it took less than 5 breaths of time. All the miners were terrified. None of them dared to believe that Immortal Venerate, who was so noble in their eyes, would be killed by Ning Fan in just 3 moves. Moreover, Ning Fan actually used 3 innate magic treasures. 3, it was actually 3. Even immortal emperors, reverse spirit. Ning Fan flicked his sleeves and produced a gust of wind. Under the gust of wind, each and every one of them fainted and fell to the ground. Part of their memories were forcefully erased by the reverse spirit technique. He wouldn't remember that he and Dolan had been here. It wasn't that he was afraid of others finding out about this matter. Instead, he didn't want others to know that Dolan was involved in this matter. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, Ning Fan moved 8 gold and silver veins away with his great ability and kept them in his incense flame world. Countless disciples of the incense flame sect excavated them for him. Mining ores was a meticulous process. It didn't require a high cultivation level, but it required a lot of manpower and resources. Of course, Ning Fan wouldn't waste his time mining them himself. He could just leave it to the disciples of the incense flame sect. After doing all these, Ning Fan erased all the traces of karma in this place and left with the 2 ladies. Ning Fan did not know where he could bring Tu Huang and Dolan to. He had already finished his business in the Extreme Pill Sacred region. He would have to leave this place eventually. However, as long as the will of the saints of the Extreme Pill Sacred region existed, he would not be able to bring the 2 ladies out of the territory of the Extreme Pill Sacred region. They could only stay in this place. If he forcefully brings them out, they would die. However, he didn't know if the 2 ladies would once again face the dangers of the great despicable quasi-saints because of him. The only way Ning Fan could think of to protect the 2 ladies was to take away the things in their bodies that had been schemed against. Tu Huang was schemed against because of the Sword Ancestor's love. Duo Lan was schemed against because of the sacred maiden mother's Yin Qi and the coordinates of the sacred ancient stone throne that she knew. As for the so-called coordinates of the stone throne, Ning Fan had completely given up on it. Even though the sacred ancient stone throne contained countless treasures, according to Great Emperor Lu Tua, this great despicable clan was full of schemes and schemes. Even the southern medicine saint who had passed away many years ago still had some arrangements left behind until today. Ning Fan still remembered the day when he won first place in the second round of the mausoleum seizing competition. At that time, the sacred ancestor's reward appeared. However, the reward was actually a scheme. After a saint died, why did he turn his will into a mountain? Why did he leave his belongings on the sacred mountain? Did he really want to share his belongings with his descendants? Didn't he die unjustly and bear a great grudge against his descendants? Then, is there something wrong with these belongings? Ning Fan voiced out the doubts in his mind and got an answer from Tu Huang. The so-called sacred ancient stone throne was indeed very problematic. The belongings of the saint inside should not be taken recklessly. The reason why Tu Huang was able to confirm this was because she had once been bold enough to enter the tomb of the saint and become the first person in the history of the sacred mountain to successfully rob a tomb. However, Tu Huang, who succeeded in robbing the tomb, chose to return all the treasures he stole to their original places before he left the tomb. It was because she found something wrong with the belongings of the saint. She did not want to become another reincarnated spirit body like the Radiant Buddha and the Death Emperor. The reincarnation of the good and evil corpses and the saint's original self-corpse. In other words, the coordinates of the sacred ancient stone throne are actually not important at all. Even if she gets it, it won't be beneficial to Chu Lai's bloodline. It's like this. If that's the case, not only will it not be beneficial for Duo Lan to keep the coordinates of the stone throne, but it will also bring harm to her. After all, many immortal emperors of the sacred mountain don't know that there's something wrong with the belongings of the saint. They are still trying their best to obtain the coordinates of Duo Lan's stone throne. Yes. So, you plan to help her, right? That's right. I can vaguely guess how you want to help her. The steps to extract the coordinates of the stone throne from the woman's memory are rather complicated. The layout of the tomb is extremely complicated. To locate the sacred ancient stone throne, you need to know the time and location. Part of the method to extract the coordinates is in the hands of the fire spirit race under the two-world seal, while the other part is in the hands of the tri-flame race. However, the fire spirit race is also the puppet of the flame ancestor. Thus, all the methods to extract the coordinates can be used to find the tri-flame race. In other words, I still need to make a trip to the tri-flame race. There's no need for that. I'm someone who has returned to the true world countless times. The method to extract the coordinates is considered a top secret to ordinary people. To me, however, it's just a small trick. I'll help you extract the coordinates from her memory. One day later, another piece of news spread across the grassland. Holy Maiden Chu Lai was captured by Ning Fan. All the mines that Chu Lai was in charge of were plundered by Ning Fan. Throughout the entire process, even though Holy Maiden Chu Lai resisted tenaciously, her memory was still searched by Ning Fan, and the coordinates of the sacred ancient stone throne that was sealed in her memory were taken away. There were also rumors that Duo Lan's body still had a large amount of Holy Maiden Yin Qi. However, Ning Fan forcefully copulated with her and extracted it. The whereabouts of Holy Maiden Chu Lai, who had lost her chastity and been defiled, was unknown. It was suspected that she was captured by Ning Fan and used as a human cauldron. What was strange was that Ning Fan had clearly obtained the coordinates of the stone throne from Holy Maiden Chu Lai's memory. However, he made it known to the world. Thus, almost all the ancient monsters in the grassland knew about those coordinates. Since everyone knew about it, it was no longer a secret. According to the appraisal of some ancient monsters, the coordinates were real. Instantly, the entire grassland was filled with excitement. The entire grassland fell into an uproar again because of the matter regarding the coordinates of the stone throne. However, this uproar had nothing to do with Ning Fan. At this moment, he brought Tu Huang and Duo Lan to the Tri-Flame race to pay a visit to Long San Chui. Long Sanchue was an unusual species among the Tri-Flame Immortal Emperors. He was extremely good at hiding and staying alive. As the saying goes, a cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. Long Sanchue had many innate dragon nests. Many of them were even hidden so well that they could avoid the search of quasi-saints. After Long Sanchue committed a huge crime on the Corpse Mountain, even the dead emperor who was possessed by the flame ancestor could not find him. If the dead emperor could not find him, the other quasi-saints would not be able to as well. The reason why Ning Fan announced the coordinates of the Stone Throne and spread countless rumors in the Middle State, ruining Duo Lan's reputation, was actually to protect her. In the eyes of others, Duo Lan, who had lost the coordinates of the Stone Throne and the Yin Qi of the Holy Maiden, had already lost her value. If she goes missing, most of them would not look for her anymore. Of course, there might still be a small number of people who did not give up on Duo Lan and wanted to find her. Thus, Ning Fan thought of Long Sanchue. He planned to borrow a dragon nest from him for the 2 ladies to live in for the rest of their lives. It could avoid the search of the quasi-saints. It could avoid many schemes. Tu Huang and Duo Lan could live their lives without worries. It could let Ning Fan truly feel at ease when he left. He had asked the 2 ladies for their opinion on this matter. Both of them were indifferent to it. It was not a big deal to live in seclusion for a lifetime. To cultivators, the boring life in the cave was not a problem. On the contrary, the scheming and plotting against each other was the most annoying thing. It's not bad to live in the dragon nest for the rest of my life. In the past, I've only heard that the Chua Dragon's nest can seize the fortune of heaven and earth, but I've never had the chance to see it with my own eyes. I really want to see how mysterious the rumored Chua Dragon's nest is. However, I seem to have killed a Chua Dragon before. Will your Chua Dragon friend allow me to stay in his nest? On the dark immortal cloud, Tu Huang sat behind Ning Fan and asked with a smile. This is indeed a problem. Ning Fan sighed. He had known Long Sanchue for a while, but he had always been mistaken as a member of the same clan as him. If he really treats Long Sanchue as a friend, he shouldn't hide such things from him. He should at least give Long Sanchue an explanation. It would be best if he could borrow the dragon nest for this trip. If he couldn't, he would look for another hidden cave in heaven and earth with his innate ability to communicate with all living things. Even though it was not as hidden as the dragon nest, it was still a place to hide. Speaking of which, Senior clearly didn't taint my innocence. But why did you spread that kind of rumor in the outside world, saying that you've already? Doran blushed. As a matter of fact, even if Ning Fan really wants to pluck her and take away her mother and child Yin Qi, she would also be willing to do so. After all, she was willing to offer the child mother Yin Qi to the sacred child of the spirit sect for Ning Fan. Of course, she was also willing to offer it directly to Ning Fan. Of course, she still wanted to carry on her father's last wish of revitalizing Chu Lai's lineage. However, she cared more about Ning Fan. Even though they had only known each other for a short period of time, their feelings for each other were already very deep. Moreover, ever since she heard that even the coordinates of the stone throne that her father had left for her were being plotted against, she felt lost and lacked confidence in reviving Chu Lai's lineage. If she could offer the mother-child Yin Qi in her body to him and use it to help him spread his wings and soar to the sky, she would be very willing to do so. The only thing that made her feel shy was that if Ning Fan wanted to obtain the Yin Qi in her body, he must have intercourse with her. Oh my god. I still have to do this and that with Senior. As soon as she thought of this, she felt like her face was dripping blood. However, she was also faintly looking forward to it, and her heart was beating wildly. Of course, I spread the news to protect you. Don't think about such shameless things in your head, little girl. Ning Fan scolded her with a smile. With his mind-reading technique, Ning Fan easily saw through Duo Lan's inner thoughts of offering herself to him. He was slightly speechless. Black Devil was the same. So was Duo Lan. Alright, there's also Zeely. She is always thinking about having intercourse with him to give birth to the next generation of the Fu Li tribe. Each of them is eager to have a relationship with me. What a headache. Don't the women nowadays know what it means to be reserved? Oh my... I forgot that Senior knows the mind-reading technique. It's over. My thoughts have been exposed. Duo Lan was so embarrassed that she wished she could dig a hole to bury herself. Tu Huang, on the other hand, could not stop laughing. He laughed at Duo Lan for being interesting, innocent and naive despite her worldly appearance. It was similar to her, just like her sweet smile. Ning Fan, since you have countless beauties around you, why don't you take this little girl as well? What do you think? Tu Huang said with a smile. For those who take the initiative to throw themselves at me, I don't know how to push them away. Of course, if there's one more person who throws themselves at me, I'll be even happier. Ning Fan intentionally stroked his chin and pretended to be seriously thinking about it. Are you sure you want me to throw myself at you? Tu Huang's beautiful eyes flashed. No one knew what he was thinking about. Don't tell me you really intend to do that? Ning Fan was surprised. He no longer joked around. Instead, he looked at Tu Huang with a strange expression, as if he was getting to know him again. I'm a virgin. Tu Huang answered seriously. So, I've cultivated for more than 80 million years. What are you trying to say? I want to taste what a man tastes like. Ning Fan was speechless towards Tu Huang's straightforwardness. Elder sister, you really dare to say anything? Duo Lan was also frightened by Tu Huang's straightforwardness. Deep in her heart, she faintly envied Tu Huang's straightforwardness. She envied Tu Huang's unrestrained and straightforward character, which was completely different from her own indecisiveness. She is also a virgin who has been holding back for millions of years. I also want to taste what a man tastes like. If the other party is senior, Ning Fan shamefully saw her thoughts again. Ning Fan's head hurt even more. He did not continue this topic anymore. If he does not know what kind of shocking words he would hear from Tu Huang. Riding on the black immortal cloud, Ning Fan flew all the way out of the Great Bay grassland and entered the ferocious domain continent from the border. Then he flew all the way to the Three Flames. After keeping the black immortal cloud, he quietly sneaked into the stone flame. Unlike when he traveled across the grassland, there were still many immortal emperors in the Three Flames. He did not use the black immortal cloud to travel unscrupulously. If he did that, he would definitely be intercepted by some of the Three Flames' immortal emperors. Even though he was not afraid of them, he did not plan to fight against them for the time being. It would not be too late to fight them after he finds a suitable dragon nest. The important matter at hand was more important. In this world, there existed some blessed lands that were formed innately. They could block the detection of cultivators' spirit sense. They were the best places to establish a sect. There were definitely not many of such blessed lands. At least, Ning Fan had only seen a few of them in his entire life of cultivation. However, he had seen them repeatedly in the Great Bay tribe. It was enough to show how extraordinary the tribe was. Not far from the Sea Shaman tribe, there was a blessed land. It was the place where Wu Yen hid the spring water of the South Sea. Ning Fan used his ability to communicate with all living things and talked to the flowers and plants along the way to find it. There were quite a few blessed lands like this above the Three Flames. Basically, all of them were found by Long Sanchue, who claimed to be the first original heavenly master of Three Flames, and transformed them into dragon nests. The dragon nests were transformed from blessed lands. Its concealment effect was even better than blessed lands. It could block all spirit sense detection below the third step. It was the best place to hide. If it wasn't because Long Sanchue had brought him to the dragon nest in the stone flame once, he would not know that there was actually a peerless dragon nest hidden in that seemingly ordinary mountain range. Ning Fan arrived at the dragon lair of this place with great familiarity and entered it. He and Tu Huang concealed their qi. They could hide it from ordinary people, but they could not hide it from immortal emperors like Long Sanchue. The arrival of the two of them gave Long Sanchue a nervous feeling. The one who gave him pressure was actually not Ning Fan but Tu Huang. Tu Huang's qi was unfamiliar and powerful. It gave Long Sanchue a sense of oppression, as if the heavenly might was coming. It was not inferior to the heaviness that the dead emperor gave him. Long Sanchue thought that a great enemy had come and discovered his dragon nest. In his shock, he was already prepared to fight even though he was injured. However, when he realized that the person who came was actually Ning Fan, he became speechless. At the same time, he heaved a sigh of relief. What welcomed Ning Fan was an evil dragon iron fist. "Brat, are you trying to scare me on purpose? Don't you know that you should send a message to inform me before entering the cave? You're asking for a beating. I just want to scare you. I don't want you to lose your vigilance because you think that your dragon nest is peerless." Ning Fan, who would never admit that he was two-faced, said with a harmless smile. Then, he fought Long Sanchue with his physical body. In the gigantic dragon nest, the two of them exchanged hundreds of punches at each other. Then, Long Sanchue burst into laughter and began to welcome Ning Fan's arrival. Ning Fan was already used to Long Sanchue's sudden exchange of blows. When he was holding the coming-of-age ceremony for Black Devil, he stayed at Long Sanchue's place. He fought with Long Sanchue almost every day. Thus, he was used to it. Ning Fan did not mind it at all. After all, it was just a joke between friends. It couldn't be any more normal. After a short exchange of blows, Long Sanchue and Ning Fan's injuries worsened. However, the two of them who were open-minded obviously did not mind it at all. Long Sanchue arranged a banquet of fruits in the dragon nest to entertain Ning Fan. At the same time, he asked Ning Fan about the purpose of his visit. Ning Fan told him everything without hiding the fact that Tu Huang had killed Chualong. He could lie, but he disdained to lie to his friends. The same went for Tu Huang. He was straightforward and disdained to act pretentiously. When Long Sanchue heard that Ning Fan came to stay in a dragon nest, he agreed to it without hesitation. However, when he heard that Tu Huang had actually killed Chualong, his expression changed. Considering the friendship between him and Ning Fan, he did not lose his temper on the spot. Long Sanchue cared a lot about his fellow Chualong, otherwise, he would not have thought that Ning Fan would help him selflessly after killing Chualong. In other words, your woman has killed my fellow Chualong, right? Long Sanchue asked in a deep voice. Ning Fan sighed and answered. In other words, you really aren't a Chualong with only your left claw. Are you really just wearing a spiritual equipment? Moreover, the spiritual equipment is made from the bones of my fellow Chualong? Yes. Long Sanchue fell into silence. In Ning Fan's eyes, this silence was a refusal. He refused to lend the dragon nest to his mortal enemy. Ning Fan sighed even more. He thought that Long Sanchue did not attack him at the first moment because of their old friendship. Otherwise, with this old man's fearless personality, he would most likely attack Tu Huang on the spot regardless of the difference in their cultivation base. If that's the case, let's leave. Ning Fan stood up from the banquet and cupped his fists at Long Sanchue. Then, he turned around and left with the two ladies. Wait. Long Sanchue suddenly called out to Ning Fan. When Ning Fan turned around, he was surprised to see Long Sanchue tear off his left arm and blood splattered all over the ground. If Long Sanchue used his magical power to protect his body and suppress the injury wouldn't be too serious. The lost body could also be slowly cultivated back. If the recovery ability of his body was strong enough, he could even be like Ning Fan and use his divine ability to regenerate his limbs at high speed for a short period of time. However, Long Sanchue did not use any protective method. He really wanted to destroy his arm without suppressing the injury. Brother Long, what are you doing? Ning Fan frowned. You could have hidden it from me, but you chose not to. This is sincerity. You treated me with sincerity, so how can I not return the favor? What you owe the Chualong clan, I will repay it for you with my arm. From now on, whether you are a Chualong or not, you are my friend. I can lend you the dragon nest, but you have kept me in the dark for too long. You must punish me so that I can vent the anger in my heart. How should I punish you? 1,000 jars of wine. Long Sanchue patted his storage pouch and a large amount of dragon saliva ancient wine appeared. The wine jars piled up like a small mountain. Then he burst into laughter. At this moment, Ning Fan really saw the heroic spirit of Lu Wu in the past from Long Sanchue. He did not have many friends. Even though Long Sanchue's friendship with him was short, he was definitely one of his important friends. If I drink 1,000 jars of wine, even I will be drunk to death. But since it's a punishment, I certainly won't refuse. Ning Fan smiled. I want you to be drunk to death, only then I can vent my anger. Stinking brat. Understand? Today, I must make you drunk to death. The banquet that was originally suspended resumed. However, this time, Long Sanshue did not talk to Ning Fan anymore. Instead, they both remained silent and gulped down the spiritual wine. Tu Huang was slightly speechless and suddenly interrupted. This brave man, you severed one of your arms to repay your friendship. It's indeed very heroic, but you don't have to do this. I did kill a Hui dragon before. However, the Hui dragon I killed was a traitor of your clan. At that time, it was killing its own clan members. It wasn't a good dragon. After I killed this Hui dragon, the other Hui dragons that I saved knelt on the ground to thank me. I don't think I owe your clan anything. You don't have to give me an arm just to repay me. Long Sanshue, who was full of manliness, spurted out a mouthful of spiritual wine and nearly choked to death. Why didn't you say this earlier? He even severed one of his arms in order to repay Ning Fan's debt to the Hui Dragon clan. Damn it. When this arm was severed, there was no protective measure at all. After such a long time, if I reconstruct it, will there be repercussions? Damn it. You guys drink. I'm going into seclusion to reconstruct my physical body. Long Sanshue no longer had the mood to drink. He ran away with a cheese sound. Ning Fan was left with a strange expression. He was extremely speechless. He raised the wine jar, not knowing whether he should drink or not. That annoying old man has left. Ning Fan, let's drink by ourselves. Today, I want to prove to you that I'm serious and my alcohol tolerance is very good. Alright, let your little lover out too. Let's drink together. Tu Huang's eyes were deep and profound. He smiled meaningfully. Since I'm going to play with men, I might as well go big. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.